Well, hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again. Good morning, everybody. Ben and Woods, 97.3, The Fan. Thanks so much for being here through the pleasure and the pain, the agony, and the ecstasy of what was the 2024 San Diego Padres season. And it has come to a very unfortunate and sudden end. And we will be here for you today. We will be here for you every day. We're not going anywhere. We're not hiding from the fact that sucked in so many ways. To watch our boys go down like that, we'll be here. All right, we'll take your calls today. We'll take your tweets. We'll take your messages in the YouTube chat. Many Dodger fans already in the chat. Talk your smack. Talk it. I would. Bring it. We're not hiding from any of that. I spent my whole night Friday going, nice job. Well done. You dominated us. You know, I'll talk it when we win. And I'll be there to answer you when we lose. I'm not hiding from anything, man. It was a great series. It sucked. Did not come out in our favor. But we move on. And we try to pick up the pieces today. And also have a little fun in the process, certainly. Let me introduce the show. I'm Woodsy. That's Paul Reindl. He's the executive producer. Good morning, Paulie.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing great. I got Ben Higgins here, your friendly neighborhood sports anchor. Benjamin, how are you, buddy?
Good morning. That was very well said.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. That was a tough, long day on Friday. You know, I was up there, left after the show, drove up, spent all day there, didn't get home until about 1:30 in the morning, and it was brutal to have to go down into that clubhouse after the game and just see the players and the shock and just, I mean, sadness, not in terms of like tears. It was just like a stunned,
like a blank
silence.
stare. Yeah,
with everyone sitting in their chair in front of their locker, like. A lot of them just kind of had their phones, but they weren't really like doing anything with them. They were just kind of holding them and looking down at them like with like blank nothingness on their face. It was as stunning, I think, for the team as it was for us as a fan base as well, because everything up until, Game 4 had been going so well for the San Diego Padres. It's almost unfathomable that you can be at that point, up 2-1. Everything feels like it's locked into place. Like you are set moving forward. And then it's just 2 games and it's just over.
It's over.
It's just cruel almost.
Yeah, it
is
was.
cruel.
Cruel's a good way to put it, man.
That's why you play the game.
That's why you play the games, man. There's nothing guaranteed for you. And listen, we're going to, I think, we'll talk about our weekends and what we did and how I reacted, how everybody reacted after. There was certainly on Saturday a sense of despair. I'll be honest, a sense of despair and kind of nausea kind of lingered throughout the day. Man, Friday night, I could barely sleep. I could barely sleep. After that game was over, I turned it off, did not want to watch the celebration, certainly. Not that I don't love you and appreciate all of your hard work, Benjamin, but I wasn't quite ready to get the postmortem yet on the San Diego Padres in 2024. I just wasn't. But I spent the day Saturday with my family, and that always makes you feel better, and had some fun with the kids, and then got to coach yesterday, which was always a blast, and, trying to kind of get back to normal. And there's bright sides. There's a few bright sides out of this whole thing, certainly, and we could talk about some of the bright sides, too, but holy smokes, man. It definitely stung. I slept a lot this weekend. I actually got caught up on some sleep. Took a couple of naps, which was quite lovely, and recharged the batteries a little bit. The bright side is there's no round table this week. That's one bright side, all right? I said it to my wife as I was walking out the door. I go, and I guess one of the bright sides is I don't have to do a round table on Thursday. Talking about this thing because we're going to spend probably 4 hours talking about it today. There's some downsides to it too, man. You watched last night's game, and the Dodgers continue to roll right now. They started rolling, 3 games ago, and they're rolling right now. They look pretty sharp.
Well, we do know things can turn on a dime though, since we saw it here as well. I was watching the game yesterday as well. I worked on Saturday, but I was off yesterday. First day off probably in 3 or 4 weeks, and was actually sitting with Shelly. We went and got a glass of wine, and I looked up at the TV as the Dodgers-Mets game came on, and I go, I should be at Petco Park right now for Game 1.
No doubt.
I mean,
I
this
had
is
tickets.
what I expected. I expected there to be a game at 1 o'clock today, Game 2, and then probably getting on a plane for New York either tonight, red eye, or tomorrow morning, whatever, and doing the show from New York tomorrow. It's just it's still really difficult to wrap my mind around the fact that the season is over.
Yeah, it is. It really is. We've got Dodger fan David Conrado in our chat. I bring up David specifically. He says, someone talked to Ferdy Raps, which we gave no attention to, by the way. Ferdy Raps did do another rap. It was horrible. We didn't pay any attention to it. He said, and Ryan Cohen for talking smack before and during the series, for cursing you guys. Now, David is an interesting guy to say that, because David is the one who made a meme of our dearly, dearly beloved late owner, Peter Seidler, and portrayed him as Beetlejuice. And so I
classy.
Dodger fans it's hard for me to believe in karma when people like David and Dodger fans exist in general, throwing stuff on the field, throwing stuff into a bullpen, making fun of our owner that passed away from a very, very traumatic cancer. It's hard for me to say Ryan Cohen being excited and dancing jinxed our team. They're not jinxes. Things like that aren't real, because the reason I know they're not real, you exist and you won. So jinxes do not exist when it comes to things like that. David,
Ryan Cohen had a very disappointing NLDS series, though, at the plate. I mean, he was hitless.
Right.
For the
No
Padres.
knocks at all. I mean, so again, it's hard for me to believe in karma and things like that, and jinxes and bad luck when you talk about a human being like Peter Seidler in the way that you did. So it's hard for me to wrap my head around, David, so I apologize.
Well, it's and we talked about this during the season, and you can only put as much faith in karma, because also at the end it's probably going to end in disappointment. It does for every team except one. AJ Hinch talked about it eloquently, I thought, after the Tigers got eliminated. This pit we feel in our stomach is the same one that every other team will feel at some point, other than one team at the end of the year. You're going to have that disappointment at the end. And, I think the memory of Peter Seidler was inspiring to players, and I think it helped bring them together.
No doubt.
With a great season. But you can't assign magic qualities to it. It was a real thing that helped the players go as far as they did. But you can't say that Peter Seidler let us down at this point because they didn't win.
No,
that's not how it works in sports.
No, man, they didn't win because they didn't hit. That's it. I mean,
the only reason at all.
It's the only reason they didn't win is because they forgot how to hit at some point. And we'll talk about the ins and outs of that. And if you're coming here for an answer on why some of our best hitters stopped hitting, I don't have one for you. I don't get it. I've been thinking about it nonstop the entire weekend, and I think everybody else has too.
They faced really good pitching. I mean, that's part of it.
They didn't. Well, they did, but they faced a guy in the last game that they had traditionally dominated.
But he was throwing harder, and his command was much better than any of those other games.
He was down the middle, though. I mean, he was throwing a tick harder, but nothing that our guys hadn't handled. 96. It's hard for sure. That's hard for guys like us. He was around the plate the entire time, and we didn't get to him in the first. And when you give him a little bit of that momentum, I mean, it was shocking. It was shocking. He didn't throw his bad splitter that, nobody swung at. He just got ahead of every single hitter. It was just boom, boom, fastballs on you, and then you're in a terrible count.
And how they beat him the previous game was all those, spike pitches in the dirt, getting ahead in counts.
Yeah.
And they weren't ahead in counts this time. It was a different pitcher they were facing than the one they had faced previously. Not that they couldn't have gotten to him. They certainly have the ability and the players that they could have gotten to him. They just didn't make the adjustments in time. And the one time they had a couple of runners on, he made a really good pitch to Tatis, I thought. Slider. Got him. He hit it hard, but because I think he was looking fastball, got the slider.
He came around it.
Hit it, like 100 right at third.
Right at Muncie.
Turned into the double play. I thought that was the game right there almost, in that double play.
Oh, it was the only thing that you had really to get excited about from an offensive standpoint was the two hits. I mean, it was Higgy, and then it was Arise. gets a hit, and you're like, here we go. Now we're cooking. And they just couldn't get it done, man. It sucked. It just to watch and cover this team the entire year, to watch what they were able to do offensively, and then to have that just vanish like a fart in the wind makes no sense. And it's what's going to drive. I mean, it's not only us. Think about them. Think about what they're thinking going, all that work we put in, all the work, all of the innings we strung together, all the times we grinded it out. That's how we went out scoreless for the last 24 innings.
It's almost easier to accept. Had they been a feast and famine team during the season?
Yes, you're like, we didn't eat tonight.
Yeah, no, it's just happened to be one of those days. But they weren't. They led the Major League Baseball in batting average.
Yeah.
They were one of the most consistent,
correct,
offensive teams. The team that doesn't happen to this team. It didn't for 168 games or whatever it was. That didn't happen to this team.
They hadn't been shut out in back-to-back games
since May,
and then 2.5 games without a run.
It's something that you never would have called. Well, I know the Padres are up 2-1 and look like they're rolling, but I really do see them going scoreless the next 2 games. No one would have ever made that prediction. Even a Dodgers fan would have gone, pretty sure we're going to shut them out the next 2 days, though. No, you would have said Ohtani is going to, come through again and have, 2 home runs, and they're going to outslug the Padres and find a way to win. That, like the most optimistic of Dodgers fans, would not have called those last 2 games going the way they did. It just wouldn't have made any sense for anybody.
Yeah, man. It is very, very tough to stomach, to watch your team just kind of flail at the end. It just doesn't make any sense. It just really, really doesn't. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of people going back to the San Diego sports curse. Maybe. I mean, maybe it is. I have no idea. But I just know that it doesn't make sense. These guys are too good of hitters to go out like that, certainly. So we'll talk about all of that today, certainly. But other than that, how was everyone's weekend? Paulie, you had actually a nice weekend.
My weekend was great.
Actually jealous of your nice weekend.
I don't know why, because I wouldn't have been at the game on Friday night. I would not have been at a bar or watch party. I would have been watching at home. But being outside of the San Diego County limits on Friday night made it a little bit easier. I was in Palm Springs from Thursday until yesterday for a wedding.
Yep.
Buddy of mine since kindergarten was getting married to a girl that he knew since kindergarten.
That's sweet.
Really cool. They didn't connect until just a few years ago.
They weren't dating in kindergarten.
No.
Right.
They weren't dating in middle school or high school or anything. In college, nothing like that. They reconnected, and it was really sweet, and it was fun to see so many people that I grew up with. And we had a great weekend. Went to Joshua Tree, went golfing on Friday morning, Joshua Tree in the afternoon, and then came home and watched the game Friday night. And Joshua Tree was amazing.
So great.
You
First
told
time?
me all about it.
So good.
First time out there, paid the $30, drove through the national park for a couple of hours, and
you even found that same guy at the bar.
Yeah, it's insane. He's always there.
He's there.
That guy. I
don't know what time of day or what day of the week it was when you were there, but we're 4 o'clock on a Friday, and my man was sitting right there at the bar top. At the Joshua Tree Saloon.
He's a figurehead there. It's like he's part of the furniture. I couldn't believe it. I felt when Paulie said, I'm going to Joshua Tree, I go, pop by the saloon, see if my guy's sitting in there drinking an ice cold Coors Light as he always is. Paulie goes, if he's there, we win. When Paulie texted me, he goes, oh my God, he's here. And I felt immediate ease. Turns out he's a big curse.
You know those old airport bars they had that were Cheers themed, and they had a animatronic Norm sitting on the desk. This was that's their version. He's just always there.
Oh man, it was tough.
It was good though. It was fun, man. I had 5 friends, close friends, the 6 of us growing up, and I've done bachelor parties, and we've had weddings up in Washington where they all live. But for all of us now with our wives, and some of us have kids, and to be in a hotel and just all in one place that we all had to travel to was really fun.
It's good times.
It was very fitting, though. On Saturday morning, got out of the hotel room, and we went to go get some smoothies down the street. And when we returned, it was about 100 degrees at that point in the morning. There was a dead roach.
That's unreal.
Right on the pathway back to our hotel, to the door to get in. And I stopped, and I go, that's a roach.
That son of a bitch carried
and
us.
Megan's 10 feet in front. I go, babe.
Dead roach.
The rally roach has died.
That guy carried us for so many. He had such a great record.
I feel like it was Jodes on Twitter who had found a dead praying mantis in a spider web when she got home as well. Just all the rally mascots.
He was laying on his
died.
back. He was done for.
He was done for.
It was Saturday morning.
Probably because it's 160 degrees.
Maybe
he's like, I can't do this anymore, man.
But if that wasn't a sign, I don't know what is.
Yeah. Well, the season has come to an end. Yeah, and I think I'll tell you, as much as I'm going to have to force myself to do it, and believe me when I say force myself to do it, the look ahead at what's ahead in 2025, I'm not quite there yet. I also know who I work with over here, and I know
that 2 months ago.
And I know, and so now I'm sitting here going, I'm bracing myself for the do we bring back Higgy and Profar? If so, how much does it cost? I'm not there yet. I'm telling you right now, I'm not.
I won't force
there.
it on you yet.
Okay, don't force it.
The discussion will happen, and we will look ahead at some point, but we still have more to break down from what already just happened, and we are here for you. We will be here for you every single morning, as Wood said. Try to have some fun with it. Obviously, it was tough. We will set the menu when we come back. I see some conspiracy theorists already in the chat. I was there. I have some thoughts on that for you.
There was a comment made by a huge a-hole, Dan Clark. You know Dan Clark?
Yes.
Yes. And you were in the locker room after. I'd like you to either confirm or deny this tweet that was sent out over the weekend.
All right, we will come back and set the menu as we get rolling on a Monday morning. Padres fans, we all feel it today on San Diego's #1 sports station. Check Kelly's traffic here on 97.3 The Fan.
Jamul Casino. Fun above all else.
So I never saw this comment by Dan Clark that you were referring to, and you just told me what he said. I am stunned, actually.
But that he would say it?
Yes.
Oh, don't be. That's this guy's whole shtick.
You can't just make things up,
sure you
can you? I guess
yeah,
you can.
It's the year 2024. Dan Clark.
So, yeah, looking at this tweet right now. Apparently, things got pretty heated in the Padres clubhouse after last night's dismal offensive display. A lot of finger pointing and blame placing. Sounds absolutely toxic. I was, as you said, I was in the clubhouse. That could not be more wrong. There was not a single, moment of anyone getting heated at all. First of all, I was in there for 20, 25 minutes, and the only emotion I really sensed, other than disappointment and sadness, was a true heartfelt appreciation and love for each other from those teammates and what they experienced together. And, the sadness of going to be missing this and what a great unit and, team this was all season long. There was nothing toxic, even remotely, in that clubhouse after the game.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it either. Just knowing this team, the way that we did this season, watching how it all unfolded. And, I do think it's important to say, and this is how I genuinely feel. I loved covering this team this year, but if you don't win the last one, it doesn't really matter. I do believe that old adage from Moneyball. I don't look at this season as a success. I certainly look at it as a season I had fun covering. A blast. I had a blast. This team was a blast to cover. But the way that you went out is tough to swallow. You know, it's tough for me to stomach. Doesn't make any sense. And I don't have any answers. I'm not a hitting coach. I know what I saw. Take that for what it's worth. But it was weird to me to see guys that traditionally didn't expand in those last two games. And it was weird for me to see an offense. You know, I will never say that this team quit. I don't believe in – let's play the tape forward on quitting, right? Why in the world would you grind your ass off for 162 regular season games, get to the biggest games of the year and go, I think I'm done. I'm out.
It is so laughable.
It's so laughable. You know, the word choke gets thrown around. It felt like a choke.
We'll talk about you know, choking or not choking.
Yeah, but the quitting thing, I think we've got to put the quitting thing aside.
It almost angers me when I see those, and I do respond sometimes because that insinuation angers me.
Yeah.
It's usually the absolute opposite that's sometimes true. In a big situation, when you want to win so badly, sometimes you try too hard. And then that, you know, turns into pressing, and you're trying to make things happen. And we saw it in the 2023 Padres, I think, a lot down the stretch, you know, the pressing.
Yeah, oh,
and,
my Lord.
You know, after going a few innings, obviously, in game 3 without scoring after the second, and then you start and you don't score early in game 4, you can understand why all of a sudden, kind of, all right, we need to make something happen here. What happened to our offense? And then instead of just doing what you've done all season long, you do expand a little bit because you're going, we need
gotta
runners.
get something going.
We've got to get something going, and you start pressing. And that's not because you're not trying hard enough. It's not because you don't care enough. It's because you care too much and you're trying a little bit hard. That's what pressing is. And if there was anything that the Padres did differently over those last 2 games and the whole rest of the season, that might be a much more accurate explanation.
Megadoomer says, why were our guys swinging for the fences? I mean, I saw a lot of the hero ball stuff too. You know, Manny just missed 2. He just missed them. I mean, good swings on both, just missed it. They didn't go out. And I don't think it was rigged. I don't think it was anything like that. I don't think the balls were juiced for the Dodgers. I don't believe in any of that stuff, man. I just know how things can snowball. And you saw it. It was a snowball. And one guy didn't get it done. The next guy tried harder to pick up his brother. He didn't get it done. Guy after him tries then to pick up his last 2 brothers. He didn't get it done. There's a lot of blame to go around. There's a lot. I mean, look, man, we can do it in the next segment, but let's talk about how they absolutely crumbled in the 2 biggest games of the year.
All right, we'll get to our Padres wrap up and you know, take a much closer look at what exactly happened on Friday in the 2-0 loss in our next segment. And then after that, you know, we will try to analyze just the entire end of the season. We'll talk about choking versus not choking. Sammy will join us. We will get one more Monday with Sam Levitt. Unfortunately, off-season Sammy now.
To put off-season Sammy on the
Dude,
road down
it
today.
does.
But we've appreciated his coverage and his contributions to our show all season long. So he'll check in with us at 7:35. We will play Take on Woods. We got Don't Do This. We can revisit Dave Roberts' Manny Machado comments and Ken Rosenthal's column in light of what Dave has said after the series, something that we probably all should have known from the very beginning, the disingenuousness of the Dodgers manager looking for anything to try to motivate his team or distract his team. And
I'll tell you where the whole series turned, too. The entire series turned on one swing.
All right, Woodsy's got a good tease for us there. That's all coming up when we come back with Ben Woods on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
What happened? What happened, fellas?
Well, obviously,
Our
Major
beloved.
League Baseball, when the Padres were batting, replaced dead balls with the ones they were feeding the Dodgers because they wanted the best TV matchup for the World Series to make tons of money. I mean, that's the
conspiracy.
conspiracy theory that's
I don't
going
buy it.
around. Two things can be true. Does Major League Baseball, somewhere in the league office, probably want Dodgers, Yankees in the World Series?
Oh, yeah. Now, let's watch the Guardians-Yankees series very closely. If Jose Ramirez is hitting 114 off the bat and it's not going out of the yard, then let's talk about it. But it's hard for me to get behind that narrative. Guys, we hit a lot of singles. We didn't hit any singles. That's the thing. Like, we weren't even hitting singles, much less balls flying out of the yard.
You know who they wanted in the World Series last year out of the last four? Phillies against Rangers would have been good for them, but they didn't get the Phillies there. They got the Diamondbacks.
No. Last year you got the Diamondbacks Rangers, which nobody wanted, except the Rangers, and I don't even know if the Diamondbacks fans cared. But the Rangers fans were pretty hyped and won their first World Series. But I don't really get behind many of the conspiracy theories that go on. I don't think the balls were dead. I think we chased.
So I was there. We'll go through the highlights in a second. And by the way, when the two Hernandez balls, the only two balls the Dodgers really smoked all game, were hit off the bat, and I'm sitting way out in left field, I knew they were gone. I mean, I knew. They pulled them.
Oh.
They were crushed. When Manny hit his the other way, I thought, this has a real good chance, but I didn't have that surety because
Oppo.
He went Oppo. Ball wasn't carrying as well that way. It just And it was, Manny's 2 balls were home runs. I think one of them in 12 parks, another one in 5 parks. Other places, other days, warmer days, maybe those are home runs, but not in October, not the other way at Dodger Stadium. The Dodgers' 2 balls were hitting much better spots than the Padres' 2. That was the difference in the game, honestly. And I don't think it had anything to do with the baseballs or a conspiracy theory. Just, you hit the ball further when you pull it, usually. Yeah. And that's what the Dodgers did.
Boy, they Kike crushed his and Teoscar crushed his. And yep. Before we play the recap, just from the bottom of my heart, thank you to Yu Darvish. From the bottom of my heart. God only knows what that man went through this season. And for him to be able to come back and pitch the way he did, I love him. I'll always love him. He's a fantastic Padre, and he pitched his heart out. And the fact that we could not get, anything to support him it made the whole thing even worse to stomach. You could understand him going out and laying an egg at Dodger Stadium. You really could, because of how good they are and his history there at Dodger Stadium. You could understand it. But the fact that he went and pitched so brilliantly and gave up, had 2 mistakes. Both mistakes, by the way, big mistakes. But to get him nothing made it hurt all the worse. Man, the storyline would have been brilliant. Him shutting out the Dodgers offense that night, giving up 2 solo shots. Padres win 3-2, 4-2, whatever. Had they just done what they did all seson long.
He hung that one to Kike, and I go, all right, you got to score at least 1
got to score
to
1.
win.
Yeah.
Now you got to score 2.
Yeah.
It didn't bother me. He pitched his
heart out.
Ass off
pitched his heart out,
Friday
man.
night.
When he touched the Peter Seidler heart right before the game,
I had tears in my eyes.
He wanted to do it. I have no idea exactly how guys are feeling on the inside, and I don't want to say that you cared about Peter more than anyone else, but go all the way back to the, bowing at the memorial to the game on Friday. Yu Darvish clearly had a special relationship with Peter Seidler, cared about the man, and wanted to win for him badly, and did pretty much everything he could. We'll go through it all. Padres wrap up. Last one of the season, unfortunately, right after this check of traffic on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by Soapy Joe's, official car wash of the San Diego Padres. You guys got double trouble heading down from the North County southbound side of the 15 before Villa Rancho Parkway. Collision in the center divide. Then just up ahead, another crash at West Bernardo. That, too, is in the center divide. Soapy Joe's Car Wash is celebrating the postseason, offering championship-style VIP savings. For a limited time, receive a free Magic Joe Car Wash valued at $25. Just text 94333, the official car wash of the San Diego Padres. Is Soapy Joe's. Good, clean fun. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben & Wood, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
It's a shame if they lose.
Oh, a shame indeed.
It's a complete crap.
Oh, I did not like that.
Here are the lowlights from yesterday's game.
Are you kidding me?
Boo.
It's the Padres wrap-up, presented by Hamul Casino. With thrilling slots and tables and all the best rewards, Hamul Casino has all the fun you're looking for. Hamul Casino, fun above all else.
We'll give it 16 minutes of salt, and then we'll, get back on the pump and figure it out.
It's not your fault.
Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles and the deciding Game 5 of the 2024 National League Division Series between the Padres and the L.A. Dodgers. Yu Darvish on the mound for San Diego against Yoshinobu Yamamoto. First time ever 2 Japanese-born pitchers go head-to-head in a postseason game. Here's Kike Hernandez. He launches to left field. Profar's back to watch. Nothing he's going to be able to do. They call him Mr. October around here, and Kike just put it deep into the left field pavilion at Dodger Stadium. 1-0 LA. Here's the 2-1. Hernandez hits one in the air to very deep left field. This one is way back and gone a home run. Boy, almost the exact same spot where Hernandez-Kike hit one out in the second inning. This time, Hernandez-Teoscar, and it's 2-0 Dodgers in the 7th. First pitch on the way. Fernando swings, grounds it to third. Shorthand pick. Hernandez throw to first in time. And the Dodgers have a date with Grimace and the Mets Sunday here at Dodger Stadium. Back-to-back shutout wins to clinch the division series final score here tonight, the Dodgers 2, the Padres nothing, and 24 straight scoreless innings thrown by Dodger pitching to end this series.
To sum up, but there's a lot of emotion taking place. Mixture, obviously a ton of disappointment in the end result, but nothing but absolute respect and admiration for our entire club. You know, it's a club that from day one poured everything they had into this. Every single guy. And they did something that was really special. They did it for each other, and they did it for San Diego.
Now, first pitch ambush there by Kike Hernandez. Not the guy that you expect is going to be the one who beats you with power, but
the guy you hate
has had a history of doing it in October. You know,
a monster in October,
just an absolute monster. A guy who wasn't even in the Dodgers starting lineup until Miguel Rojas got hurt. I mean, not one that Dave Roberts was playing until he had to.
Yeah,
and then when he had to, he put him in and ends up, saving the series essentially for the Dodgers with the second inning home run. They put the Padres behind, and again that third inning, I thought I had the feeling when I was in the stands that this was the moment for the Padres.
Yes.
Get the 2 1-out singles by Higashioka and Arise.
Got him on the ropes.
Felt like, okay, they've left Yamamoto in there too long. What was the talk before the game? No way Yamamoto goes more than one trip through the lineup.
No chance, man.
But he was good enough that it's like, okay, they're leaving him in there. They're letting him face Tatis for a second time. This is the moment where it goes south on the Dodgers.
Remember, man, we did the roundtable before, and Craig was vehemently, like as convicted as I've ever seen him, and he's a pretty convicted guy. Craig was like, there's no way they're going to start Yamamoto. None. I said, too, I'm like, I'd be surprised if they didn't do an opener, do something, and then maybe use Yamamoto. And that dude went out like a starter. A guy they paid $325 million for. He went out like a starter and said, I'm taking the ball, and I'm going to throw strikes, and I'm going to make these guys expand the zone. And he did. And he was good. He was really good. The slider that he was throwing that looked like a heater until the very last second, the one that he got Fernando to roll over on, just nasty. Going up in the zone to Merrill.
Roll over, he hit it hard, just the wrong spot.
Yeah, Still. I mean, it's a pitch on the outer third, and he ends up pulling it to third base. So he came around it. It's a tough. It looked fast. It looked like a fastball.
And I'm sure Tatis was looking fastball. It was 3-1. You don't want to load the bases. And it was a really good pitch. And
he pitched really well.
I didn't hear any comments from Yamamoto after the game. I was in the Padres clubhouse. Maybe you did. To me, it felt like they told him, go out like you're a reliever.
100%.
You know what? And if you give us one inning and it's good, great. And then it was one inning, it was good. He goes, you got another one?
Yep.
Went out and did it again. And all right, you got another one? And they just said, don't leave anything. Don't act like you're trying to pitch 7 or 8 innings today. You are simply going out there max velocity like you're a reliever for as long as you can.
Well,
and it worked really well for him.
Ditch your crappy splitter and just throw fastball slider to these guys. Go up in the zone. I have one of the dads on Bo's team is a Dodger fan, and he's a really, really smart one and knows a lot of scouts and things like that. And we were talking about it yesterday, and he goes, couple things. He said, number one, I've never seen a team pitch up in the zone better than the Dodgers did the last few games. And I went, you're absolutely right. And I said, I've never seen our guys expand for that many games in a row, 2, all season. The elite adjusters that we are and were, we did not do. We did not adjust up in the zone, and they just couldn't get to anything. And he also said, there's a couple of moments, he said, listening to the Padres players' comments after the bullpen game, he goes, it's the only time in the whole series that I felt even a little bit confident. A little bit. Listening to Jackson Merrill, who's like, we had no idea what was going on. Listening to all of them going, yeah, those bullpen guys were tough. He goes, I really felt like we had you beat there in the mental game. Obviously, we know what happened with the Dave Roberts thing. Now, the swing that changed it all for me, the whole series was, so the timeline of events, we had the big show on Tuesday. We talked about Dave Roberts' awful comments that led to the Rosenthal hit piece on Machado, right? Well, what did the Padres do? They came out, they put up 6 runs. Michael King on the bump. When Michael King gave up a couple of bleeders and the grand slam, to let them back in that game 6-5, you could feel it. You could feel the Dodgers go, oh, my God, we have a chance. Now, they did not get it done in that game. The Padres bullpen came in, shut them down.
See, I thought that would be the big air out of their balloon. They took their shot.
And lost.
They had a chance, and they lost. And usually that is when you can really step on a team.
We didn't really even talk about much on, what was that, Wednesday morning? Like, we were just happy with the win.
Happy with the win.
We weren't really focusing on the fact that the Padres were held scoreless innings 3 through 9.
Correct.
Because the Padres also, their bullpen shut the Dodgers down
Correct.
after that grand
Correct.
slam. And we didn't know that the Padres, that was the last time they were going to score in 2024.
It was nuts. I mean, I was there. It was the best game to go to because of the result. But when he hit that grand slam, it went, oh, yeah, look what we can do. We can go single grand slam on any pitcher, even a pitcher that is pitching lights out in the postseason.
Teoscar Hernandez, future Padres left fielder.
Could potentially. He's going to be a free agent. He's going to make a lot of money. But I looked at that and I went, okay, yeah, you got to come out and answer. And obviously, you're going to sit and you're going to lament the fact that, I guess you're going to lament the fact that we didn't throw Martin Perez the next day. But again, the offense did nothing. And then, like I said on the round table, the offense doing nothing bailed Schilt out and it bailed Dylan Cease out. Okay, it wouldn't have mattered how many runs Dylan Cease gave up or Martin Perez, didn't give up because you didn't score. And it really bailed them out of that decision. And I'm still fine with the decision. Dylan Cease has to do a better job. He's got to do a better job. And if we're pointing fingers right now, so does every superstar on this team. They all, except for Fernando, who, by the way, finished like 0 for 12, his last 12 or something, or 0 for 11. They all need to do a better job, period. And it starts with their eyes. You can't be a table setter and not bring any food to the table. You just can't. You got one hit in the last 4 games or something. It just can't happen.
The whole team. It's
up and down. It's Manny.
There's no point in singling out one or two guys because every single player on the roster rolled over in games 4 and 5 except for Yu Darvish.
Yeah, no doubt. And, even our beloved Jackson Merrill, seeing Jackson Merrill chase pitches at his eyes was shocking to me. But I understand it. I understand why you do it, because you're trying to do anything to help your team win. Now, remember Curt Schilling years ago with the ketchup sock? And everyone was screaming at the Yankees that day. What were they telling them to do? You got to lay a bunt down at that guy. If his ankle is held together by staples and there's blood coming through, bunt him to death. Get him out of the game. You had Freddie Freeman on one leg playing first. Not one person tried to drag one down.
Tried once and was just a little bit foul, and that was the only time.
It's crazy.
And I feel
Mr. hates bunting.
I think Jurickson in particular, I was expecting at some point that he was going to come through with a big swing. He was going to yank a home run to right at some point in that series in the postseason after the year that he had. And Jurickson his offense just never showed up.
In the 3-hole, you had one RBI, man. That's one RBI from the 3-hole spot. Doesn't mean I love you any less. He scored 1 run. Manny had the 1 home run. He drove in 4. But really expanded the zone in the last game. After, again, hitting 2 balls I thought were on the screws that didn't go out. Tatis had such a great start. Nobody finished well. Nobody. There's not one person that finished well that they can hang their hat on the last 2 games and say, well, at least I did my job. Crony was not good. Profar was not good. Arise was not good. Xander was not good. Manny was not good. Merrill was not good. And Tatis was not good the last couple of games. And when it all goes south like that, it's going to be tough to win no matter what your pitching does.
I saw the the doom and despair on social media, especially after the Dodgers were up 2-0. And it's weird. I still had some faith and confidence that the top of the 8th inning was going to be the inning. Vesia was coming back out.
Yeah.
He had gotten just 1 out. I texted you guys, and I said, here's what's going to happen. They're going to bring Vesia back out. Xander's going to open with a single to get on. And then they can't change out the pitcher after that. And so they're going to end up getting 2 on, and then Jake's going to come out. And then Dave's going to have this tough decision. He's got his lefty-lefty matchup, but Jake, who has come through against Vesia in the playoffs, are going to leave him in. Jake's going to come through big time. But then Vesia ends up getting hurt in warm-ups. take him out. I was like, this is weird at the time. Now,
Yeah, I thought maybe a little fishy.
The fact that Vesey is out for the NLCS, I guess he really did hurt himself. And Xander did. I mean, that one I thought was for sure a single when he connected it, hit a line drive, but unfortunately, right at second base, it Lux right there, and that was really the last hard hit ball for the Padres. Last chance to get a lead runner on, get some rally going there in the 8th inning. It just never happened for the Padres on Friday night. Even in the 8-0 loss, they had seven hits or something in that game.
Yep, 7 hits.
They had 9 chances with runners in scoring position. They didn't come through. They had 1 chance. 0 for 1 with a double play grounder with runners in scoring position. They didn't do anything.
Well,
on
and again,
Friday.
if you had told the Padres fan base, you're going to hold Shohei to almost nothing. Almost nothing. 1 home run, a 200 average, and like 7 or 8 Ks, you think to yourself, we're winning this series, no problem.
Padres, you sign up for that instantly. You sign up for 2 solo home runs from Yu Darvish in 6 2/3 innings instantly. It's like, are we sure we'll take that 2 runs? Yes, absolutely, 100%. I would have no qualms about either of those, stat lines. I would have taken those at the start of the series, at the start of that game, because I thought the Padres offense would put up at least 5 or 6 runs pretty much every single game, which they did until the last 2. And then it's over.
Just like that.
All right, so the CH word. Is that a choke by the San Diego Padres? Talk about that coming up. Play a little Take on Woods as well. We got a new prize this week for you. We'll tell you all about it when we come back. Hour number 2. Ben, Woods, and Paulie on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Well, listen, we did finally find one creative Dodger fan on Twitter. I can't even remember who said it to me. This made me laugh hysterically. They got me, they got Ben, with the crying Jordan faces on, and it laid me out. It really did. Even after the loss, I had to laugh and go, all right, that's pretty creative. Very, very well done. And he goes, these new Ben and Woods billboards are going to hit hard. Yeah, 100%. Give it back, dude, because I'd be giving it to you guys for sure. And I think my overarching, I know you're going to defend the choke here, Benny, and I let me say this.
That's an interesting way to phrase that.
The word choke, right? You have to look at it, all right, from my perspective.
He's going to combat it, not defend
Combat it, right. Not defend the choke, right. I can't come in here every October and talk about the Dodgers choking and then not say the exact same about the Padres. That would make me a massive hypocrite because the Dodgers have choked since we started covering the team. They did win the short season championship, right? In every single other one, they choked. They absolutely choked. They choked to us. They choked to the Diamondbacks. I can't come in here this morning say...
Because they were the big favorites every single time. We already talked last week how the Padres weren't the favorites in this series. Can you choke a series?
They were after game
well, yeah,
3.
When you're up 2-1, you definitely are in the advantageous spot. And they did not come through, and clearly they're going to have to reconcile that and live with that. Historically, outside of San Diego, they're not going to record this is one of the great chokes in baseball history. They're going to look at a team that was not favored going into the series. They lost 2 games in a row. I mean, they weren't up 3. They weren't up 3-0 in a best-of-7 series. They weren't up 2-0 in the series. They lost the first game.
You were up 6-1. You were up 6-1 in game 3,
which you won,
and then you never scored again. And then you lost the series. You were up 6-1 in game 3 in the 3rd inning, and you never scored again. Ever. You got 2 hits in the final game against the guy that you had torched every time you'd seen him. I don't know how else to put it. I hate it.
Look at it.
I just don't think it fits the definition of what traditionally
that's so
you would call it choke.
It's absurd.
You have to be up by at least
no, you
couple
don't.
of games.
Glasses off.
You have
Step
to be
back.
the favorites.
Step away from the microphone. Step back for a second.
Take a deep breath.
Did the Tigers choke the series against the Guardians? I don't think so.
Did they go 2 for 28?
They fell apart. They were up 2-1. I don't think they choked that series. The Guardians won their division, had home field advantage. They had not scored in 2 days, and all of a sudden they come back and win the series. And I don't think that was a choke by the Tigers.
Even though it was the exact they had their ace on the mound. They had their ace on the mound.
Well, if that's
shut
the case,
them out 2
if
games
that's
in a
the
row.
case, then yes, the Padres choked.
Yeah.
I don't think the Tigers choked, so I can't really say the Padres choked. That's not fair to say, oh, the Tigers didn't choke. Only the Padres choked.
Mike Wood said the Tigers are a way different story. 100%, Mike. 100%. 100%. Our expectations, and we sat in here and told everybody
different story in that
they were not even supposed to be in the playoffs, right? I mean, we weren't at the beginning of the year, but they made so many moves and added so many pieces, and they came together so well, and they hit so well that, yeah, man, they absolutely got down to it. They had a 6-1 lead in the 3rd inning of Game 3, and they never scored again after giving up a grand slam, man.
I mean, they were wild card teams that did not have home field advantage in the second round series.
Yep.
Yeah, the Padres won 7 more games than the Tigers did, over 162. It's not as cut and dried as you think, though. I mean, the Tigers were as hot as any team in baseball going into the playoffs. Padres were pretty hot, too, in the second half of the season.
I think they would tell you they choked.
Okay, then if the Tigers choked, then the Padres choked. I don't think the Tigers choked. So I feel like it's unfair of me to then say the Padres choked.
It's definitely.
Well.
I don't think it's unfair at all. I hate it. I mean, I hate it as much as I hate to say it. I think it absolutely was when you had a chance to knock out a division rival like that, and you had them on the ropes, and they had done some really, really shady, untoward things toward you. My whole thing of like, oh, thanks a lot, Dave. You just kicked the Hornets' nest. The Hornets died. The Hornets never buzzed again. They really didn't. They just didn't buzz. They did not get mad. They did not handle business.
To me, the Dodgers the last couple of years, getting a bye into the division series and winning one game total. That's a choke. Padres won a playoff series this year.
Sure.
They advanced. They moved forward. They won 2 games in the next series. I don't know. To me, that doesn't really fit the definition.
The fact that they did
of
not
choking in the playoffs.
The fact that they did not score at all and got 2 hits in the last game, whatever it was, the pressure was too much. They pressed too much. All of it. At the end of the day, you didn't get the job done, and it doesn't. Like, again,
now if they had
previous series
if they had gone out and committed a bunch of errors and gave up a ton of unearned runs and looked sloppy in the field, I'd go,
they didn't
yeah,
hit.
the pressure looks like it's too much for them.
They didn't hit. They didn't hit a guy that they had hit.
Other than at the plate, I just didn't see a team that looked like they were.
I don't feel like in 2024 or 2022, the NLCS, I don't feel like they choked against
the Phillies.
They got beat 3 games in a row that weekend in Philadelphia. It sucked. It was painful to watch. There were a ton of questionable.
The Padres had the home field advantage in that series.
We blew a 4-0 lead. We had no pitching, and Minaya and Clev and those guys could not get it. And we spotted them 4 runs. That was a choke as well. To that game.
I don't think the series was a choke. The questionable, the Suarez, the Harper home run, and all of that. It gave us a lot to question and talk about. I didn't view it. I didn't feel like they choked.
Last year was a choke.
This
Last year was a massive choke job.
Well, the whole season.
The whole season. Last year was a massive choke job.
I would say last year was more of a choke than even this playoff run.
Now, listen, I think it's, for me, at least, I think it's okay to say that we choked. I do. What I don't think it's okay to say is that we quit. That's where I kind of draw the line. This team did not quit. They didn't quit. They pressed. They did things that they hadn't done. That doesn't scream I'm quitting. Kicking the ball around, doing stuff like that, not taking extra bases, being lazy. That's quitting. This team never quit, man. They didn't quit for 162 plus the postseason. I never saw quit out of this team. I saw punting from time to time, which you have to do in a 162 game season. You have to. You gotta take your lumps. Nobody's going to go 162-0 ever. It's never going to happen. I don't think they quit. I will defend that to the death. Not the death, but I'll defend it to very loud words.
Did the offense did they lose confidence? Though?
Yes. Somehow.
Is that essentially what we're looking at here? That the offense, which was so consistent, lost some of the faith that they had.
Next
Whatever the Dodgers did.
They quit for 24 innings. They did not quit. They didn't quit. There's no quitting. They're not standing up there staring at strike threes. You know what I mean? They didn't quit. The offense did not quit. They choked. Which one's better? I mean, it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. They didn't get it done.
It's weird though. I would not classify that group
as quitters
or chokers. I mean, you look at these guys. They're not the sort of players that seem to shrink at big moments. I mean, all year long.
Right. They answered
when they
the bell.
were late in close situations, best in baseball, runners in scoring position, best in baseball. They were as clutch as any really Padres team we've ever seen in history. Did they forget how to be clutch? I mean, what changed over just 2 days? 2 days is such a small sample size over the course of an entire baseball season. This team should be remembered as one of the most clutch Padres teams in the history of clutch Padres teams. And now we're trying to redefine them,
except for when it mattered,
as like the biggest choking team that we've ever seen. Because is there any other Padres team that you'd ever say choked? Is this the first Padres team that has ever choked?
No, I just said they choked.
That's true. In the playoffs.
And they choked last year. They choked the year before that.
Was there any other playoff run where you felt like they choked? I thought maybe 2006 in the division series they choked. I thought they were the big favorites over the Cardinals, and that was kind of a choke.
That's a choke. It was a choke. It happens. It happens to the best of them, man. It really does. It happens to the best of them. It doesn't make sense. We can't put our finger on it. I don't buy this line of BS either. The Dodgers are professionals. The Padres are not professionals. The Dodgers literally rubbed their wieners together after they hit a home run. Kike Hernandez grabbed his third base coach's dong as he ran around the bases. Okay, they do weird little dances. We've seen their little celebration in the dugout. let's settle down on the Dodgers are stodgy old white professionals, and the Padres are dancing peacocks.
The Dodgers are weird.
Let's keep that stuff. Like, smarten up about that, for sure. Like, they literally rub the heads of their wieners together after they hit a home run.
They're a very weird team in my mind. I mean, they're good. They're
really good.
Really good. A lot of
they
talented
get a lot
players,
they get a pass. Hey, listen, again,
Shohei's weird.
Shohei hits a homer. He rips his bat towards the dugout. No problem with it. You're celebrating. But don't then tell me that they are all a bunch of Adam Rosaleses that hit a home run and put their head down and sprint around the base paths. They hit a bleeding single. They get on first. They dance. They shake their hips. They're no different. They're no different than what the Padres do. None. There's zero difference in the teams. Jack Flaherty screams, "Sit down, mother effer." I didn't see Joe Musgrove doing it. I didn't see any of the other guys doing it. It happens. I have no problem with it. But don't paint them with some professional brush that the Padres don't get. They played their asses off. They played their hearts out until they didn't.
Well, I think generally from what I've seen, more people agree with you guys than me. I can't.
It's hard to rationalize.
In my mind,
I know it's hard.
Remember this season as a big choke.
Not the season.
The
season was fantastic. The season was so good. It was inspiring. It was all of the things that we said it was. It was brilliant. There was a no-hitter in there. There was all kinds of great stuff, to witness. It was brilliant. Brilliant. It was an unfinished piece of art, man. It was the Mona Lisa without the hair. You forgot to add the hair. And so now it just looks really weird and incomplete.
I guess ultimately you have to choke, in my mind, you have to make mistakes. Did the Padres make mistakes, or did they just not hit? Hitting is the hardest thing to do in sports.
It absolutely is, but nobody was better at it than them.
Did the Dodgers just do something right, or did the Padres actually do something wrong in the last couple of games? I don't know that we'll ever know the answer to that question,
know.
Whether it really was more of the Dodgers pitching or more of the Padres hitting. The Dodgers probably don't know the answer to that. It's the weird thing about baseball that you can't ever exactly know what it is that causes success versus failure on a 1 or 2 game basis. Over a whole season, you look at the trends and you go, yeah, I can see why this team succeeded or failed. But in a short sample size, you don't know. I mean, maybe every team that would have faced the Dodgers the last 2 days would have got shut out.
Well, I mean,
would have had no chance.
The Mets just did, which made me feel a little bit better.
The Mets certainly did. They
made me feel a little bit better.
They did get 3 hits as opposed to 2. So if you want to give Mets credit for getting 1 more hit over 9 innings.
No, I mean, and listen, Dylan Cease is Kodai Senga. Is what it is. I mean, both of them came out and just said, "Here you go. Take every bit of momentum." Dylan Cease broke my heart with his starts in the playoffs. And you got him for more than you got him. You acquired him for more than you got from him in the postseason. And I think it's a good learning experience for guys like Jackson Merrill, Dylan Cease, those guys that will be back next year. And hopefully they get better. And but again, man, when you don't hit, which was your forte, anytime your forte goes away, it's hard to not look at it and go, man, you guys completely choked it away. And you had the lead. You just needed 1. And you got beat by, what was the final of the last game? It was 3-0? 2-0. 2 solo shots. Couldn't scratch it out, man. So very, very tough to stomach. I know everyone's in a lot of pain still, which is okay. It's such a long season. It's a long season for us. It's a long season for you guys. I'm glad we could be there for you through the whole way, but we're not going anywhere, certainly.
It's funny. I was just looking at the calendar, and, we'll have a couple weeks here where, painfully watching the League Championship Series and the World Series, and then we'll be into November. A couple weeks in, you got the GM meetings. The winter meetings are in December. We'll have our extravaganza. And then we'll come back in January.
You ready?
In a couple weeks, we'll be at a fantasy camp,
yeah.
And then spring training will be a couple weeks away. It goes really fast, honestly.
And I'm seeing a lot of people saying it's going to be really, really hard to get excited about next year. There's a lot of sentiment that this was our best chance, and I feel some of that too.
I don't disagree.
I don't disagree either. I feel like you really let one slip through your fingers, but you cannot go through life thinking that that's You can't go through life thinking this today was the best day of my life and nothing good is ever going to come.
It was the best chance I think we've seen for the Padres, at least in a very long time. But the point is to come back and try to make an even better chance next year.
That's exactly right.
That's what every team is going to try to do.
That's what every team is going to try to do.
Well, I don't know.
Not every team, but I hope ours will, and I want to talk about that next.
All right, we will come back. Well, don't do this is next. We're going to push back Take on Woods maybe an hour because
push it back.
We got into that. Do you want to get into Dave Roberts and his admission? His very unsurprising admission?
I think it's important to do that.
We will do that when we come back with Ben and Woods after traffic here on 97.3 The Fan.
Hamul Casino. Fun above all else. Hamul Casino. Fun above all else.
Let me ask you a question, Woods. Did we do something wrong last week in our coverage of Dave Roberts, Manny Machado?
I don't know. I don't think so. It felt very.
I think we knew it was a non-story.
Yeah.
Maybe we should have just treated it as such and not even brought it up, not even mentioned it.
I still don't know if that helps our guys hit the baseball.
No,
I doubt it does.
No, but I mean, we gave some oxygen to a non-story.
Sure. We also had nothing else to talk about.
That's true.
At a live remote.
Did we play into Dave's hands? That's what he wanted.
It's not about the media, though.
It is.
The main guy, the one guy that played into Dave's hands is Ken Rosenthal.
True.
That's the one that gave this whole thing the oxygen that, the life that it took on. If that happens, we come on the air and we laugh at Dave saying, bro, come on. You said you didn't even see it. And now you're making a big deal out of it? No big deal. It was the Ken Rosenthal piece in The Athletic, dredging up anything that Manny's ever done wrong. That's the part that really was like, man, that's out of line.
So if you missed it, Dave Roberts admitted after the series, said, hey, I've got a really good relationship with Manny. That was a nothing story. I brought it up basically to take some of the heat off of my players after they had, failed miserably in game 2 and put it on me and just change the narrative a little bit. And should more of the attention been placed on the Dodgers' failures? Continue to press the fact that they were on the verge of potentially collapsing for a third straight year. And did Dave Roberts' strategy apparently pay off for them?
Well,
I don't know.
It did at the end of the day because of that article. And again, I don't think Manny, we talked to Jesse Agler about it. He's like, I don't think what Manny cares what they write about him. But you did see, Schulte not letting Rosenthal in the clubhouse, or not letting him in the dugout for the in game.
Yeah, they had to replace him with Tom Rinaldi after a day in which Padres, whether it was players or whatever, clearly had a boycott of Ken Rosenthal. Even in the clubhouse, they didn't bar him, but when he tried to ask Jurickson a question,
he got waved away.
He got waved away.
So maybe that worked. Maybe your head was in the wrong spot. It's hard to say, but I did think it was. So here was his quote after he was asked whether his delayed reaction was a calculated one. He said it was. It was. As a manager, you never want to make it about you, don't you? But I just felt in that situation, if we could take it off our guys a little bit, Manny and I have a really good relationship. I would take him any day. But I don't think that diversion was a bad thing for our guys. They responded by having my back. So, look, if you're going to give Dave Roberts he was playing chess and not checkers, he couldn't have done what he did without Ken Rosenthal's help. And Ken's piece remains out of line. Talking about Tatis, talking about Manny, talking about Profar. Ken bought in hook, line, and sinker. And again, that question at the end of the press conference to Dave Roberts was 100% a plant from whoever asked it. And Ken took that and he ran with it and wrote a hit piece the morning of a playoff game, which I thought was garbage.
So I definitely think Ken needs to address this. I don't know if he will. The best reading of it, and the one that I tend to subscribe to, is he got played.
Yeah.
He thought, oh, this is an interesting, looking for an angle. This is an interesting angle.
Hey, when in doubt, attack Manny Machado.
And,
Yeah, but he could have gotten played and wrote a story continuing to highlight and talk about the throw from third base towards the Dodger dugout. Him going out and saying Tatis is a dancing peacock, Jurickson Profar is this, that was totally separate, and
he's allowed to have that opinion. He's allowed to think Fernando Tatis Jr. is a dancing peacock.
But again, completely
it reflects on his opinions and his character, but it's not unethical to think that.
Completely absolving, by the way, fans throwing stuff into the bullpen. Completely absolving fans throwing stuff into the field. Absolving. Completely.
But that's the best.
My point is
reading
his
of it.
choice of words were totally separate from what Dave Roberts was trying to do.
If there was any coordination, if the Dodgers or Dave said, hey, Ken, any chance you can write something like this, that would be unethical. Now, I have not heard any suggestion that Ken did not just do that on his own and decide, hey, I'm gonna I'm going to throw an entire monkey wrench into this, operation by giving this story that really wasn't a story, ton of oxygen on my gigantic platform. It was awful, and I think Ken needs to address that. I really do. And if he tries to ignore it, I will lose some respect. I mean, I already
don't
have,
think he
but
cares.
Lose some respect for Ken Rosenthal and what he does. At the very least, he needs to say, I probably went too far with what I thought was a story and turned out to just be a ruse by Dave Roberts.
Yeah, just a total ruse.
I got used by Dave Roberts, and I have to own up to that. I feel like Ken at least owes that statement. Like, I got used by Dave Roberts, and, I'll need to be better going forward and try not to let that happen again. That's my opinion. All right, we need a little do this. And I wanted...
mega doo-doo.
I said it earlier. In that just sad clubhouse after the game, blank stares. They pulled it together, though, and the media gets let in. And I thought there were some great comments from Tatis and Profar. I talked to Higgy. Talked to Jake. He was very red-eyed. But they all stood up and talked. But the last person I talked to is Jackson Merrill. And if you can't just absolutely appreciate and love this kid for his attitude, listen to Jackson's entire comments here after the game on Friday.
Get to play ball game. How much does that hurt?
No, I got a salty taste in my mouth because I feel like for 8 months straight I've been going to the ball field and enjoying every bit of it. So I'll probably end up going tomorrow just to go. I don't care if I got to clean my locker out or sit around. If I get to go, I get to go. Yeah.
Get somebody throw you BP out there?
No, I'm not going to hit for a while. I've never taken so many swings this span of time in my life. So, I get ready for the offseason, get stronger, get better. There's areas to improve, regardless of how much success I had this year. There's so many areas I can improve in.
What happened to the offense the last 2.5 games, 24 straight innings without scoring?
Good pitching, They made good pitches the whole time. We missed our pitches a couple times, and that's all it takes. It's 1 or 2 missed pitches, and they can get away with it, get out of innings, and kind of keep rolling. But, all credit to them. They were better than us. I'm not going to sit here and make excuses and say that we had it and we should have had it. No, they were better than us, and they beat us 3 games to 2. So all props to the Dodgers.
It's hard to see the future, but do you anticipate using this as motivation and fuel, as you go forward in your career?
Yeah, I think I take every loss as motivation and fuel. It doesn't matter if it's the Dodgers or it's the White Sox from this year. Every loss is news to yourself on how you can get better and how you can prepare for the next time.
How are you different now than when you walked into that spring training complex in February?
I think I found a deeper love for baseball. I think I really didn't know the extent of how electric it can be and how much of a family you can build through an entire summer of it. I feel like my time in the minors has been a little different, way different compared to being here the entire year, staying in one spot, playing with the same people all year and building a family, All the post-game speeches, all the post-game celebrations, you don't do that a ton in the minors, and I feel like this year I had so much fun. I had the most fun I ever had playing a sport in my life this year.
That's just
was he created
fantastic.
in a lab?
Yeah, he was, man.
He's just perfect.
He was. He's fantastic. He's a fantastic kid, fantastic player. He had a fantastic season, and that's the kind of stuff you hear, and it breaks your heart, man. Breaks your heart. What a good kid.
But it gives you hope knowing, hopefully he's going to be around for a long time.
Sure hope so.
Story came out in the UT this weekend that even last year the Padres approached him about a contract extension. They could increase those talks again this offseason with a higher price tag, obviously, after what he did. But Jackson Merrill gets it and is a reason for optimism for the future for the San Diego Padres.
You get the feeling, too, that, obviously we talked about his leadership throughout the year and the guys that he leaned on and respects and that showed him the way. And you do get the sense that he's not going to let anybody take a day off. You know what I mean? He's already, as a rookie, and hopefully the rookie of the year, just one of the most accountable guys in that locker room. And you can't help, if you're Manny or Xander or those guys, to go, oh, wow, I got to keep pushing myself because this rookie's doing it. And he's been a godsend to this team in this city. And I love him. And I hope he's here forever.
Even at a veteran moment, I was in that clubhouse, and there was a whole scrum around Yu Darvish, and there was no room for it. I tried to get in and Craig Huner with the Padres said, hey, you're blocking the hallway. They need to get stuff out. So I just
you got banged.
So I walked over to Jackson because he was sitting there, and I said, Jackson, I know this is tough. Can I get a minute? And he said, absolutely. He said, is everyone else just going to walk over in a second? And I said, yes. And he said, let's just wait. And he said, yeah, I said, you're right. We'll just wait until. So I just waited patiently until everyone else joined us and got that sound. But that was a veteran move, so he didn't have to repeat everything twice. Jackson, good job. That's a do this on a Monday.
That was Don't Do This with Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan.
All right, one more time. Off-season Sammy. I liked postseason Sammy way more. But did a great job. Was up there covering it. Saw him on Friday. We will talk with Sam Levitt, our Padres pre- and post-game show host, when we come back here on 97.3 The Fan. It's definitely shocking and jarring that the season is over. When we, even when we knew it was on the line on Friday, and I was heading up to Dodger Stadium, I never really got the sense that this was going to be it. And I think Sam Levitt must have the exact same feelings. You know, like you've been even closer to it than the rest of us. Every single pre and post game show, or almost everyone, traveling from spring training, the first day of spring training. Going to several of the road games, Dodger Stadium, traveling all the way through, and he is standing by. We will talk with off-season Sammy right after a check of traffic here on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by Soapy Joe's, the official car wash of the San Diego Padres. Well, guys, just one accident to mention here. Northbound side of the 5 before San Isidro Boulevard. 2 vehicles got into it there in the center divide. Seeing some residual coming down from Escondido. A couple crashes cleared, one near Villa Rancho, the other one near West Bernardo. Soapy Joe's Car Wash is celebrating the postseason, offering championship-style VIP savings. For a limited time, receive a free Magic Joe Car Wash valued at $25. Just text 94333. The official car wash of the San Diego Padres is Soapy Joe's. Good, clean fun. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben and Wood, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Yeah, Brandon pointing out in the chat, of course, Sammy also got to call his first 2 Major League Baseball games this season.
Yes, sir.
With the San Diego Padres, and he joins us right now here on 97.3 The Fan. Sammy, you okay this morning?
Yeah, I'm okay. I think some of the stun has worn off a little bit. Maybe watching what the Dodgers did to the Mets last night and continue this ridiculous run of pitching makes it sting a little bit less, maybe, just to know that maybe the Padres ran into some way somehow a Dodgers pitching staff for, basically 3 games that all of a sudden can't give up a run, and they seem to be rolling all of a sudden. So maybe that makes it make a little more sense. But certainly on Friday night, and as that game went along and as it got late, to watch the Padres just offensively look like just a totally different team than what we saw for basically 167 games or so. Pretty stunning, pretty jarring, and I think this morning you both have done a really nice job in summing it up, and I think expressing a lot of what I feel and what a lot of Padres fans feel as well.
Yeah, it was a tough one, man, and you just got the sense, Sammy, that for me it was the Grand Slam. The Grand Slam just giving them giving them a little bit of oxygen to go, oh yeah, we still have really good players, and we still have a really good team of battle-tested, those guys are in the playoffs every single year. And it just kind of woke them up. No fault to Michael King. I mean, he gave up a couple of bleeders, and then a really good hitter got him. And, you still won that game, and you were still feeling pretty confident. And, the what-if game is what drives you crazy. It just drives you insane. What if we had started Martin Perez? I don't know that it would have been any different. I have no idea. I know that Dylan Cease was a huge acquisition for this team and really disappointed, in the playoffs, certainly. But most of the guys did the last couple of games. So it's just tough to kind of pin your finger on one thing. What was your kind of overall, assessment on how the Padres, Mike Schilt, adjusted? Talked all season about being elite adjusters, and when the time came to adjust, it was like, nope, we're gonna keep doing what we've been doing. And do you agree with that sentiment? I do, by the way. I don't think you make any big drastic changes. I really don't. But it was just kind of odd to hear, and especially how it all played out.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think we all had that conversation heading into Game 5, and I think I may even had it with you guys or anyone else, and I can't remember, about do you change something with the lineup?
Yeah.
Do you move a Profar down? I know maybe we went back and forth on maybe even moving Fernando up
Yes.
to the number 1 spot. Look, I was not surprised when the lineup came out that they didn't do any of that, because this felt like a group that was going to roll with what got them there. And look, that's a way of thinking about it as well. I think that the interesting part to me about this whole thing, I think it's going to be really easy to lump in the 24 innings together and that become the main narrative, as it should be, the fact that they didn't score for 24 consecutive innings to end their season. I mean, that's what I kept coming back to on Friday night after the game, was if you would have told somebody that the Tatis home run to cap that 6-run second would be the final runs they scored of the series, is unfathomable. It is insane to think about. And I think it's really easy to lump it all together. I will say, I think it's worth acknowledging that each game from 3 to 5 and the struggles we saw and the reasons they lost were different. Right now, in retrospect, them going silent offensively after the second inning in Game 3, was not a great sign. Now that we know how it all played out. Game 4 felt a lot different than Game 5. Game 4, Dylan Cease didn't set a great tone, and they fell behind. And, in retrospect, now you look at it, and it's like, wow, that was kind of the continuation of them not being able to hit. And then, to me, Game 5 was different. Look, them not taking advantage of the situation of sending Dylan Cease out there on short rest and, ending it at home, that set up the possibility for a Game 5 where you allowed Yamamoto to have a much better start. You allowed their bullpen to keep rolling. And it certainly looked as the game went on like things got tight. And the at-bats were not like the at-bats we saw all year. It looked like a totally different team. And kind of each step of that process from 3 to 5 sort of allowed that to happen with what we saw at the very end, with just it looking like a totally different team. So I think the 24 innings are going to be easy to lump in. I do think you have to separate it out kind of game by game to fully understand and break down how they got to that point kind of late in Game 5. But there's also, I think, and I said it Friday night, and I still think it this morning, that there's just like a head-scratching element of what happened, and it just looked offensively like such a different group that got away from what made them all year. And I think we're going to be asking kind of that question for a while here, sort of what happened. And that's what it makes so stunning. Not necessarily that they even lost, because it was a 98 win Dodger team, and it's a 5-game series, and anything can happen, and those Dodgers are good. But the way it happened, I think, is obviously the really, really stunning part.
Sam, in some ways, Mike Shilt's pitching strategy actually worked, because, part of the decision to start Dylan Cease in Game 4 was to make sure that Yu Darvish was going to be on the mound in Game 5. And that worked brilliantly. Yu Darvish was, everything you kind of hoped he would be in Game 5 of that series. And we talked about it last week. Had Martin Perez started Game 4, which is what a lot of people kind of wished after the fact had happened, don't you feel like Dylan Cease would have had to have started Game 5?
Yeah.
And I just don't know that would have had any different. So, I mean, evaluate kind of Mike Shilt's managing in your mind in this series.
Yeah, I think now looking back at it, if you're going to criticize the Padres for starting Dylan Cease, I just think it's total Monday morning quarterbacking. Because, yes, are there numbers about guys going on 3 days rest? Were you running a little bit of a risk of Cease not being great on 3 days rest? Sure. But the fact that you had Darvish lined up for Game 5 anyway at the time, heading into Game 4, I totally understood it. And had they not gone with that approach and that strategy, and Martin Perez gives up a bunch of runs, guess what? I guarantee we are saying the opposite today, that Cease should have started Game 4, and you wouldn't have asked him to go get 7 innings. You were asking him to, get you off on a good foot, and unfortunately it didn't happen. Still, in retrospect, even though you were asking Dylan to do something he doesn't normally do, which is pitch on 3 days rest, I had no problem, and I'm going to keep saying it even after the fact, of them being aggressive and trying to get Cease in there, knowing they had Darvish lined up for 5. I really, approach-wise, strategy-wise, I think it's total, hindsight is crystal clear when you look back on it. In the moment, I'm going to stick with what I said at the time, and that I had no problem with it, and I understood the aggressive nature of it because you had Darvish lined up. It didn't work out. To me, this was a series that just, for whatever reason, both with what happened in Game 4 and what happened offensively over the course of a couple of games, just didn't work out. And they got beat, and the guys kind of echoed that in the clubhouse after the game. I mean, they ran into a Dodger team that all of a sudden pitched really, really well, and they got beat.
Yeah, no question. Talking to Sammy Levitt here on Ben and Woods this morning, and what you saw from Yamamoto, I thought was pretty special on Friday night. And there was no deer in headlights look for him.
No.
Whatever plan they gave him to attack Padres hitters, it worked. It worked very, very well. Expanded the zone, pitched up in the zone. And there was the difference, I think, those adjustments. We did not make them. Dylan Cease did not make them from start to start. Yamamoto did. And to go out against a guy that you see really, really well and to be completely flummoxed by him, I understand that it's like, oh, okay, well, it happens. He was due. They paid him all that money for a reason. That's the toughest one for me to swallow, man, is nothing off of that guy. And there was all the narratives that we talked about. Well, don't worry. We rough up starters. We can't hit the bullpen.
Right,
and then to have
right.
that game where you can't hit the starter or the bullpen, it's hard to stomach on the last game of the year.
And they also didn't get off to good starts in either Game 4 or Game 5.
Yep.
And as we're learning throughout this postseason, and maybe in particular with this Dodger team, with the way they're starting to pitch in the bullpen in particular, last night was a little different because Flaherty was great and they didn't have to use a lot of relievers. But we're starting to see if they get a lead, they're in a really good spot.
Oh, yeah,
and
a
even
lot of confidence.
You could see it just in the first inning that this was going to be a different kind of night for the Padres and Yamamoto. You could see it the 1-2-3 first inning.
It was brutal.
It was a totally different guy on the mound. It was a totally different result, and you could kind of feel it. Like, I hate to say it, and it's not that I lost all faith as the game went on, but you were sitting there as it got 6th, 7th, 8th innings, and you're seeing the at-bats and kind of how things are looking, and all of a sudden, for a team that had scored so often and strung hits together as well as any team in baseball this year, it was like, this ain't looking like they're going to be able to kind of get it going here.
It was the first time. It was like
yes,
the first time,
absolutely.
Sammy, in the
all
whole
season.
season.
All season.
The whole
and
season.
And look, I had post-game a couple of people that called in and were talking about 2023. And let me preface this by saying that I think this team deserves more respect than that because I think they proved over the course of the year they were not the 2023 Padres. But it looked a little – there were those games, if you remember, in 2023 where it just seemed like offensively it wasn't their night, right?
Yeah, most of them.
And it was just kind of like, what's going on? And for one night, and again, I think you've got to separate Game 4 and Game 5 a little bit because Game 4, they were trailing 5-0 after 2.5
Yeah.
innings. Very different kind of game. But Game 5, it was like, what is this?
What is this?
This looks 23-ish. Like, in that part, I don't know that you're going to be able to really wrap your head around why that happened all of a sudden. And again, I don't want to say all of a sudden the 23 Padres showed up because I think that's disrespecting what this group was, but it was just weird. I don't know how else to put it. It was weird. It just, from a hitting standpoint, a runners in scoring position standpoint, a battling late, a coming back, everything that made this team just seemed to evaporate for a couple of games, and especially Game 5, where it was so winnable and so much in reach.
Well, Sammy, I think I speak on behalf of the three of us and all of our Tier 1s when I thank you for your coverage all season long, some long days and nights, for all the times you came on with us to discuss Padres baseball. And certainly you deserve a little bit of time off, but hopefully you won't be a stranger in this off season, and we will get a chance to catch up and talk about some of the the future storylines and stuff. But we'll leave those for now, but just wanted to appreciate you, Sammy, and thank you again for all of your appearances and everything you did this year.
Well, thank you guys, and I've said it to you before. You guys have welcomed me with open arms from the day I got here, and I'm a Tier 1, and I mean it when I say it. Being on Ben and Woods is certainly a very important part of kind of my existence on this station and in San Diego, and I'm appreciative to be a part of it, and thank you guys for having me as part of your Tier 1 Ben and Woods family.
Thank
so
you,
I
brother.
appreciate it.
And I'll finish with
Sammy.
something you probably said a lot growing up. Go Mets.
Yes. LFGM.
Didn't work out last night. I don't know. Last night kind of felt like the Magic's running out.
Sure did.
It did. Thanks, Sammy. Talk to you soon. Sam Levitt, our Padres pre- and post-game show host all season long. And I think he made a really good point there, Woods, that while, it's easy to just lump in the 24 innings, they were all very different. You know, when you have a 6-1 lead or even a 6-5 lead, you're trying to hold on to it.
Yeah, man.
You're not pressing. That's different.
Yeah.
You're just trying to add on.
Yeah.
The second game, they actually got some hits, just didn't come through with runners in scoring position. And then the last game, the offense just didn't show up
Just
at all.
ice
But
cold.
It was actually different
Every time.
all 3 games.
No question, man.
The result, though, was the same with 0 runs. We'll come back, reset everything, and I think we're going to play some Take on Woods, a little delayed, coming up next year on 97.3 The Fan.
All right, my friends, we are halfway home on a pretty somber Monday for Padres fans. But listen, you wake up, you look outside, you see where you live, and you go, all right, life goes on. Certainly, I know it's not much of a salve for you this morning, but it is for me, being able to live here and do what we do and talk about this team, which, is certainly, there's never a shortage of things to talk about. I mean, we could be the Reds, and it's like, all right, onward and upward we go. I'm not quite ready to turn the page on the season yet. I'm doing lamenting. I'm doing the what ifs as well. I'm just like you guys. I feel the exact same pain that you feel. My son, man, was pretty broken up. Watched the whole game with me the other night, and his little head on my shoulders, laying in bed, and what I call it, my pothole is what I call it. Right here is the little area. He lays right in my pothole, and
that's what you call it.
That's what I call it. Yeah, my pothole, and he lays right here. And he
Isn't that the crook?
It's like the crook of your arm.
The crook of your arm?
Yeah, dude. And he's laying there on me. Hannah fell asleep. She was over it. And I honestly, when she fell asleep, I was excited because we've had like 14 comeback wins when she was falling asleep. And so I'm like, all right, things are turning in our favor. And he's laying there in my pothole, and the game's over, and little tears in his eyes. He goes, this sucks. And I go, it does. It really, really, really does. And but, man, he doesn't quit. He woke up the next morning, and he's playing ball, and he's got his Padres gear on, and, trying to do it the right way.
There's something I want to push back on that I've seen, and there are Dodgers fans in our chat. And, again, congratulations to the Dodgers for winning that series. But they keep accusing, I think us in particular, Tier 1's Padres fans, of getting our comeuppance for being overconfident.
It's such garbage.
I was never overconfident. Were any of you overconfident in the Padres?
I never made a prediction that we were going to roll the Dodgers.
No,
dude.
or win the World Series or anything.
I'm not stupid.
I certainly liked our team a lot, but I would never say I was even confident at any point.
Never.
Because I'm a Padres fan.
100%. You're a baseball
fan. At what
fan.
point has any San Diego fan ever been confident in anything about their team? Everything that good happens in San Diego sports, whether it's the Aztecs advancing to the Final Four, the championship game, the Padres making the playoffs this season, it always comes as somewhat of a pleasant surprise because we're San Diego sports fans. The one thing that I will say that I was fairly confident about, and now I am not so sure about anymore, I really didn't think this was the Dodgers' year. All those other Dodgers teams of the last few years,
terrifying.
to me, seemed much better and much more dangerous. But with the pitching injuries and everything that they've gone through, I really felt like this was the least chance the Dodgers had to make that run through the playoffs. They had a much better chance last year, much better chance the year before that, the much better chance the year before that. This year, I really didn't think this was going to be the Dodgers' year, which was, helped the Padres' chances a little bit. And now here they are, up 1-0 in an NLCS that they now look to be. I mean, if they win today with their bullpen day against Sean Manaea, who's been really good, but Mets didn't hit the Dodgers any better than the Padres did, and if they can't hit that bullpen, if it's 2-0, there's a really, really good chance the Dodgers are at least going to the World Series. That would kind of shock me if this was the year that the Dodgers pulled off their first real championship, full season championship since 1988. I did not see that coming. And you know what? Neither did Dodgers fans. You were the most negative, pessimistic bunch from what I saw on social media. I saw so many Dodgers fans down 2-1, even before the playoffs started, throwing in the towel on this season.
Well, and throwing stuff on the field.
Yeah.
Turning on Mookie for doing a podcast. I mean, I said it last week. I've been telling all you guys, Mookie Betts is a good player. Me, on the Padres morning show, right? Telling you guys, Mookie Betts is a great player. He's not going to go 0 for forever. The Padres need to be careful with Mookie Betts. No, he did a podcast. He's a bum. Get him out of here. He's a bum. He's never done anything. The guy's red hot. Red hot.
Dave Roberts had already been fired in the minds
Give
of
me a break.
It seemed like a lot of the Dodgers fan base. Again, I won't paint everyone with the same brush, just like
I will.
Wasn't everyone throwing stuff on the field, but there was enough of you guys out there that I saw a ton of negativity about the Dodgers, not from Padres fans. Most of the negativity I saw was coming from Dodgers fans.
Yeah, no question.
So in that sense, I am a little bit surprised that they are playing certainly some of their best baseball, and pitching-wise, absolutely the best baseball that we've seen from the Dodgers in a long time on the mound. They've been sensational. Not one of their actual good relievers has given up a run yet, right, in the playoffs. I mean,
no.
Padres got a bunch of add-on runs against the back end of the bullpen, but not any guy that Dave Roberts would ever call on in a big situation has given up a run for them yet in the playoffs.
Phillips was ungodly.
In 6 games.
Trinan's been ungodly. I mean, again, you pointed to them, that bullpen and the round table as being a key. They're really, really good. Nobody's talking enough about them. And they absolutely executed.
I didn't think they were perfect, though.
No.
They've been essentially perfect. It's not a 0 ERA because they scored off that Henriquez. But that's about it. I mean, every guy has answered the bell for the Dodgers out of that bullpen. And that has been really the reason why they're still alive and up 1-0 on the Mets at this point.
Yeah, man. I mean, getting hot at the right time, certainly, but you hate to be the springboard that gets them there. You really do. You hate that as a Padres fan, but, credit where credit's due. They pitched really, really well, and just completely changed our entire approach at the plate. But
I didn't watch a single pitch of Game 1 last night.
No?
Didn't have it in me. Was just couldn't rally to watch that team go out there again.
Yeah,
because I just felt like
I watched every
we
pitch
should be there.
because
I
I'm a
watched most
sadist.
of it. Yeah,
But
I'm a
watching
sadist.
that result hurts more.
Yeah,
it hurts more.
Yeah, you think about if you're going up against Kodai Senga, like, okay, I mean, the guy hasn't. He threw like three strikes out of like 27 pitches. I mean, like, why anybody would swing? I mean, when somebody, I think Will Smith popped out. Will Smith popped out, bases loaded. Guy had not thrown a strike. Popped out to center. Mookie did not tag, and everyone's going, "What are you doing?" Max friggin' Muncy comes up, gets a knock, 2-0, just like that. But that team, they're doing exactly what we did, the entire season long. So just tough to go out like that. I get it. I feel your pain. We're going to be here for you. We're not changing anything.
Need a contestant for Take on Woods. We pushed it back an hour, but if you want a chance to call in and win a prize, we got a new prize for you this week. Play our musical trivia challenge. Woods is standing by. You can call us, 833-288-0973. Right now, 833-288-0973. Game 2 of the Mets-Dodgers series is today. It's a 1:08 start, so they'll have 2 games already completed before the ALCS gets underway tonight. And, of course, the ALCS will be the Guardians against the Yankees as the Guardians take it in 5. The Tigers feeling that same sting as the Padres, with a pretty incredible game on Saturday. Did you watch some of that one? With Tarek Skubal on the mound, putting up zeros back and forth, no surprise at all. And then the Tigers push across one. It was Kerry Carpenter in the top of the 5th. And you go, okay, Skubal's got his run. This is it. They're going to do it. And then the bottom of the inning, they load the bases. Jose Ramirez gets hit by a pitch to tie the game. And then Lane Thomas, of all people.
Thomas.
What I probably thought was the least consequential trade deadline move that any team made.
Ever. In history, maybe.
Well, Lane Thomas is available from the Nationals.
Okay.
Great. Oh, he went to the Guardians.
Great. Biggest swing of his life.
It's the grand slam that was the difference in the 7-3 win. And the Guardians are out there tonight at Yankee Stadium.
Crazy,
Alex Cobb on the mound against Carlos Rodon. Everyone seems to think the Yankees are massive favorites in this series, and they probably are. But
hard to count the Guardians out after what they were able to do. Didn't score for 2 games. Came back and beat Skubal.
Sound familiar, anybody?
Yeah, insane.
And what did they do? Major changes that they did in the last game of the series? Lineup changes?
Not a damn thing. Did nothing.
And they went scoreless the first 4 innings against Skubal.
Yep.
I mean,
they hit.
It's funny how quickly it can just turn. The moment never came for the Padres. It did. Thanks to Lane freaking Thomas.
Lane freaking Thomas got you, man. And if you're Tarek Skubal, that's all you're saying all day. He goes, I let Lane Thomas get me.
This is his first home run given up in over a month. I think it was early September was the last home run that Tarek Skubal had given up.
Oh, I lost some money on that game. Oh, I lost some money on that game.
Playoffs are wild.
Excruciating, some might say.
No doubt about it. All right, looks like we got some callers. Let's get today's game of Take on Woods. I see a new name here. Miles, you there? Let's go to Miles. Hey, good morning. How are you?
I'm okay.
All right.
I'm like you guys.
First time trying to take on Woods?
Yeah, first time.
All right, good luck. Here's how it works. It's 5 questions of musical trivia, head-to-head against Woodsy. He leaves the studio. He's gone now. You get to go first. If you can beat or tie Woods, We will hook you up with some tickets this week. We've got a pair of tickets to Orville Peck at the Cal Coast Credit Union Open Air Theater coming up on Saturday, October 26th. And to give you a bit of an advantage, we let you pick the category and we keep Woods in the dark. So here are your category choices. We got What's Up, 5 songs with titles that begin with What's. We've got On the Chessboard, every question having something to do with the game of chess. And then Stairway to Heaven, that is a category with heaven in all of the answers. So what would you like to play? What's Up, On the Chessboard, or Stairway to Heaven?
Let's try What's Up.
What's Up? All right, apologies to those Budweiser guys, but this category is 5 songs with titles that all begin with What's. You'll have 60 seconds to answer as many as you can. If you don't know, you can pass. We'll come back to it if there's time left on the clock. First question, Miles, is our 2-second song. Paulie is going to play a little bit of a clip. You need to give me the title of the song and the artist, so both parts to score that point. And remember the category. Every song title begins with the word What's. Miles, you ready to play?
I'm ready.
Paul, you good? All right, 60 seconds on the clock. Again, the category, What's Up? Your time begins when Paul plays the music. Good luck, Miles. Let's take on Woods.
What's my name again? Blink-182.
It's my age again, but I'm going to give it to you. Also known as Pure Energy, which 1988 hit for Information Society, samples voices from the original Star Trek, including Leonard Nimoy's Mr. Spock.
Yes.
Angela Bassett starred as Tina Turner in the 1993 film that shares the title with which #1 hit by Turner from 1984.
Skip.
A line repeated during an attack on journalist Dan Rather inspired the title of which 1994 REM song?
Next.
Let's keep going. Drake sings the first verse of which 2010 Rihanna hit that starts with Rihanna repeating "Ooh Na Na," followed by the title of the song.
What's my name?
Correct. Let's go back to also known as Pure Energy, which 1988 hit for Information Society, samples voices from the original Star Trek. All right, we did get 2. Tough category. Good job, Miles, on the first go-around. That is not bad at all. What's My Age Again? Age Again by Blink-182, and What's My Name? What's on Your Mind is Pure Energy, Information Society. What's Love Got to Do with It is Tina Turner, and What's the Frequency, Kenneth, is the REM song from 1994. All right, tough one. See how Woods does on this one. Miles' score is locked in. Stay on the line, Miles.
Great name, Miles.
With a Y, I believe.
Oh, with a Y.
60 seconds back on the clock. Your time begins when Paul plays the music. Good luck, Woods. Let's take on Miles.
That's Blink-182, and the name of the song is Damn It. No?
Want to pass?
Ben doesn't know that that's a Blink-182
Oh, that is a song. Oh, I thought you were just... No, incorrect. Also known as Pure Energy, which 1988 hit for Information Society, samples voices from the original Star Trek, including Leonard Nimoy's Mr. Spock.
I want to know what you're thinking. What the hell's the name of the song? There is something...
You're going to sing the whole thing?
Pass.
Angela Bassett starred as Tina Turner in the 1993...
What's Love Got to Do with It?
Correct. A line repeated during an attack on journalist Dan Rather inspired the title of which 1994 REM song?
What's the Frequency, Kenneth?
Correct. Drake sings the first verse of which 2010 Rihanna hit that starts with Rihanna repeating "Ooh Na Na," followed by the title of the song.
Pass.
What's also known as Pure Energy, which 1988 hit for...
What you're thinking.
Incorrect.
What I'm thinking.
Incorrect. And I believe we go back to Drake sings the first verse of which 2010 Rihanna hit that starts with Rihanna repeating "Ooh Na Na," followed by the title of the song.
That's a joke.
Oh, it's 2-2.
Okay.
Congratulations, Miles. That's a tie. That's good enough. We will hook you up with the concert tickets. Congratulations. Well
What's
done.
My Age Again? Is
What's
the
My Age Again?
182 song.
What's on Your Mind?
What's
is
on
what
your
that song? You
mind?
had you could
I
sing
want
it.
to know. That's
What's
a
your
jam.
think? Tell me what's on your mind. You got
Very
What's
good.
Love Got to Do with It. You got What's the Frequency, Kenneth, and What's My Name is Drake. Tough category. Miles, well done. You are a winner
Loved
today.
Ben thinking you were just like,
I know.
Like, damn it! What is that song?
No,
that was his
taint?
guess.
I thought you were going with.
Now,
there.
that's not a choke because it's a tie, okay? Like, that's a tie. You can't tie someone and choke.
I totally thought that he was just like vamping, like trying to
Damn
think
it.
of the.
Damn it, it goes. Yeah. I didn't, category would help me.
Yeah, it would have helped. What's up was the category.
Oh, man. Damn it.
All right, we'll have a new game for you tomorrow. Miles, again, congratulations. We'll come back. Let's well, I've got a couple things I want to get to still from you. We're going to open the phones in a little while.
Yeah, for sure.
833-288-0973.
Get it off your chest.
But we got a couple more things to get to from Friday night's season-ending loss for the San Diego Padres.
Do we have more to get to on Friday night's season-ending loss?
Oh, what, are you ready to move on already? I don't know. I've still got a little bit more left in the chamber. We'll come back after traffic here on 97.3 The Fan.
Hamul Casino. Fun above all else. Hamul Casino. Fun above all else.
Got some injury updates for you. It was, you know what made losing on Friday even tougher was that Joe Musgrove wasn't in the clubhouse with the team. He actually had his Tommy John surgery on Friday, and it makes sense to get it done as soon as possible.
Sure,
because you want to get the rehab going. In fact, reportedly, Joe is hoping that if all goes well, he can start his beginning of his throwing program when the Padres report to spring training next year. Now, that doesn't mean he's going to pitch at all next year. That is a months-long rehab program of very light, throwing. By the time you get up to full velocity pitching, it won't be until probably near the end of the season when Joe is even to that point. Maybe there's like the remotest of chance that he could be ready for September, October baseball, but I think the Padres are pretty already accepting the fact that Joe's going to be out in 2025 and hopefully back healthy for 2026.
Well, and again, we missed Joe a lot this season. We missed you a lot this season. The Padres managed to find a way to get it done. I think the team, I got to tell you, man, honestly, one of the first people I thought of after the final out was recorded was A.J. Preller. And I wondered, I'm just talking, obviously that guy puts in 18, 19, 20 hours a day on this team and has for a while. Had his best season as a GM, being hamstrung, having to cut a lot of payroll, having to get very creative with the moves that he made. And I thought about myself as somebody that covers the team on a daily basis with you guys, invested a lot in them, spiritually, financially, all of it. It's a huge part of my life. And I thought about how bummed I was. And I thought about how sick to my stomach I was. And I thought about how I was not ready to turn the page and go, all right, well, okay, let's keep hope. Hope springs eternal. What are we going to do next year? I wonder how long it took him to, if he ever does, but how long it took him to be like, all right, so what do we need to do for next year? You know what I mean? Like how long do you get right back at it? Because that's been his MO for a decade.
I actually think that when you're a GM, your job is mostly done after the trade deadline, and while you're hoping it all comes together, it's out of your hands at that point. I mean, there's tiny, call-ups and moves that you're going to make, obviously, but that probably occupies, a small fraction of his time. I'm pretty sure that, August 1st, AJ was already thinking, all right, what are we supposed to do for next year? That's really what his focus is. It'll be on scouting, the next crop of international signings, the next draft, and, of course, thinking about free agency and any offseason trades that he might be making. So I
mean, the winter meetings are in what?
Less than 2 months.
Less than 2 months away?
Less than 2 months.
December, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, the GM meetings are in November.
And those are even earlier. Yep. I would say that he is already spending the bulk of his time on next year. Even before the playoffs started,
sure,
that's really the focus of a GM after August is done. And, publicly you don't talk about that, but on your whiteboards in your offices where you do all your planning, it's been 2025 for a while. You can't make any other moves really after August for this team. So his job moves on. Now he's obviously
such a scouter and wants trying to get the edge. And again, I think you look at it, and I'm also reminded of the convo of Billy Beane and fake Art Howe in Moneyball of the because Mike Schilt now has got a year left on his deal, so that effectively makes him a lame duck manager. And the old meeting in the hallway of like, we need to talk about my contract, and he's like, I got to put a team on the field next year, and him saying, well, I can't manage this under a 1-year deal. Sure you can. I've done it. That whole convo. Like, I have a feeling Mike Schilt gets extended. I think that's probably the right move at this point, but These are all things to think about. There's a lot of guys. There's a lot of guys with some uncertain futures on this team right now. I'm not quite ready to parse it all out and go through what needs to be happening. I will say this on the record: Ruben Niebla needs to be the first priority. Number one, Ruben needs to stay here. His old pal Terry Francona is going to be back managing the Reds. And he's got some experience with him. They could throw some money at him, but do you want to live in Cincinnati? Do you want to live here? You want to work with some of the guys that we got here? I would like Ruben to stay very much. He's my
hope
number one.
That if the Padres, match any offer out there, that Ruben's going to want to stay. I mean, he wanted to come back here from this area. I think it means a lot, and obviously the Padres.
The only reason he should leave is if he gets a manager's job.
Yeah,
if somebody thinks that's the guy that we want leading the team.
And it's funny, man, because I thought to myself, had people asking me in my DMs, what do we need? I was not ready to talk about it on Friday night. I'll tell you that. I was not ready to talk about what we need to do for next year. I'm really not ready to talk about it now. But I saw a lot of we need to make sure we get this in the lineup. We need to make sure we get this. And I'm sitting there going, okay, the lineup that performed so admirably the entire season. I also am not of the opinion, bring everybody back and just run it back again. I think there is room for improvement, but I can't for the life of me sit here and go, we just were missing pieces. We weren't. That's what makes it even harder. It's not like, we didn't have the star power. We did. They just didn't come through, but we had them.
Well, I want to talk about that when we come back, because that's the last thing you have to do is when you reflect, before we look forward, reflect on what was missing then from this team, if anything.
Right.
I mean, it's possible that the answer is, as much as you don't want to hear it, that nothing was missing from this team.
Yeah, they just didn't get the job done.
And they just didn't get the job done. Or was there something missing that should have been done that wasn't done? I mean, no GM is ever going to have a perfect season. I have one right away that comes to mind that I think was a huge missed opportunity. I've mentioned it before. I will bring it up again when we come back with Ben and Woods on this after-the-fact Monday. Tough Monday for all of us here on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Didn't mention the other injury note for the Padres, but Hassan Kim also had his labrum surgery reportedly on Thursday. But it seems more and more likely that Hassan Kim is going to opt for free agency. When he hired Scott Boras last week,
that'll do it.
That's a pretty clear sign that
you're not looking for a qualifying offer or anything.
Yeah, that you are looking to hit the open market.
Why would I pay you 10% to accept a qualifying offer, Scott? It doesn't make any sense.
I feel like I could have probably just represented myself.
Yeah.
Scott, I really need someone who knows how to say yes to a mutual
option. Yeah.
You think you can handle that for me? I didn't trust my last guy. I think you can say yes to the mutual option.
Kimmy, thank you. We love you. Good luck to you. Please don't torture us down the road is how I feel about that.
Please sign in the American League.
By the way, the structure of Hassan Kim's deal also makes it very unlikely that he was ever going to come back, because if he opts out and doesn't take his option, he gets an extra $2 million. So essentially, by opting in, he's only getting $6 million because he's leaving $2 million on the table that he's getting just by saying no to the Padres.
I feel pretty confident in saying he's not going to be our starting shortstop in the year 2025, right?
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
There will be conversations about who will be the starting shortstop going forward.
More than you would ever want to have.
But that, again, maybe a topic for another day. Other injury news from the other side of baseball. In the American League Championship Series, which starts today, Anthony Rizzo has been added back to the Yankees roster after dealing with his injuries at the end of the season.
Not going to roll with John Birdie at first base. I mean, if they can platoon, but yeah, interesting.
So they're getting healthy as they get ready to start their series tonight against the Cleveland Guardians. But obviously when you lose, you go back and try to figure out, was there a move that could have been made? What should have been done? I've certainly got one that I've been talking about all year. Wish they had done. We'll get to that right after a check of traffic on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by Viejas Casino and Resort. Well, our roads are definitely reflecting the Columbus Day holiday. Yeah, things are very light all around the county. Stalled big rig has been moved out of lanes on northbound 15 just past Camino del Norte. Cordell traffic cam shows a trash can in the left lane on southbound 5 right before the King Freeway. Viejas Casino and Resort is home to the best players club in My Viejas. Start earning points towards incredible rewards like free gifts, concert tickets, hotel stays, dining discounts, and more. It's time to ditch the other guys and join the best. The My Viejas Players Club, Viejas Casino and Resort. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben and Wood, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
I think we can all agree why the season ended, because they didn't hit or score any runs the last couple of days. What I find more difficult to analyze is where you could have or even would have wanted to add more offense for the Padres.
Which is weird to say after, 24 straight innings, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah, it's just there's no obvious candidate where you would have said, boy, if they had just made this move. Well, clearly, if they had just traded for Lane Thomas to hit a grand slam at the trade deadline, knowing he was going to do that in the playoffs, that would have been the perfect move for the Padres to make. But, the catching situation wasn't perfect this year, but man, Kyle Higashioka came through a lot, including in the playoffs. So I can't say that was where it got away or the Padres would have done anything else in the postseason. In the outfield, Jurickson Profar, scuffled offensively down the stretch, but I don't think there's any manager or GM in baseball who wouldn't have continued to ride with the guy who was an all-star and essentially your MVP for the first 4+ months of the season. That's just not a move you make, even if you have other options. You're probably riding with Jurickson. Obviously, Jackson Merrill, Fernando Tatis Jr., there's no changes you make there. Losing Hassan Kim to the injury and kind of having to reshuffle the infield a little bit wasn't ideal.
It's not ideal.
But, again, I'm not sure what the alternatives were.
The Dodgers did the exact same thing. Remember, they started the season, I think, with Mookie Betts at second base, then to shortstop, eventually back into right field. It happens. Good teams are able to overcome it. And we did. We overcame it. We got into the postseason and got through the Braves, and then, we're had a 2-1 lead on the LA Dodgers, the preseason pick to win it all. So they overcame a lot of the challenges that were thrown at them this year. They had, huge gaps without two top-tier starting pitchers. You had bullpen faltering at times. You figured it out, man. They really did. So it's hard, too. I'm looking at it going, well, we just need more dogs in the lineup. I'm like, bro, we dogged it out all year. Like, our guys grinded it out. This was the grit squad, the power of friendship innings. Like, they did it all, the whole friggin' season until they didn't, which was the worst inopportune time for that to happen. So I'm looking at it, too, going, what do you add? Like, bring some guys back, maybe, mix and match, but, like, I'm not looking at any gaping, glaring holes.
So I again think for me, the one move that I would probably just stay up at night a little bit going, boy, I wish we had done that one. And it goes back to the fact Padres were cutting, obviously payroll, getting under the luxury tax. And I don't think the final numbers get calculated until after all the incentives and bonuses get in there. But the Padres, I think, ended up with a little cushion. Part of it was Yu Darvish going on the restricted list, impacting that. But they ended up with a bit of a cushion under the luxury tax threshold. And to me, Seth Lugo was the move where it would have been another year and a few million more to get him back in that starting rotation. And I feel like the season that he had for the Royals, if you had that in your rotation, you could have overcome not having Joe and you around for a few months a little bit better, probably won more than a handful, a few more games, maybe even gotten the division title away from the Dodgers, been in a different situation going into the postseason. I think that would have been big, and having him in the playoffs would have been big as well for that rotation depth, especially after Joe went down. That's the one move, I had said it earlier in the season, and I felt like you you could have found a way maybe to get Seth Lugo back. I don't think you ever knew he would have been as good as he was. Probably the second best pitcher in the American League this year, and he wasn't that expensive.
But he showed you signs that he had that in him.
He did.
Certainly, and it wasn't a lot of dough at all. But look, I like I said, like I started the show talking about this team. I loved it. I loved every second of it until the very end. And one of the couple bright spots out of this, though, I mentioned it earlier. So number one, now the crying about the format can stop. It can stop. Okay? Nobody in their right mind wants to play an extra series. And I'm not saying that the extra series hurt the Padres even. Great position to win this series. But no one in their right mind would turn down a bye. So let's stop crying about the playoffs. The way that it's set up, because the Dodgers got in.
The Phillies were the only team with a bye that didn't get through into the championship series round.
Absolutely right. Okay, so enough crying about that. The other one, man, Dave Roberts is probably going to be the Dodgers manager, right? There's no reason to make a change now. So Skip Schumacher, I'm sorry. I know you probably wanted that gig, because why wouldn't you want that gig? It's a great gig to have. But Dave stays, I'm assuming, as
if they lose their next 4 games and get bodied by the Mets,
maybe not.
It might be revisited. I don't know.
I mean, again, he's getting a lot of his flowers right now, and he's managed well. He's managed well. Played Ken Rosenthal and the Padres like a fiddle down the stretch. So that's a bright spot for me, in my opinion. But other than that, man, like it's going to be hard to stomach it and turn the page to 2025. It's tough.
Can't believe you're celebrating the fact that Skip isn't going to be getting a extremely high-paying job with a huge payrolled roster next season.
Because I'm massively selfish. That's why.
Apparently anybody else.
You want to know?
You call this guy a friend.
He is a friend.
And you're like actively rooting against his career interests.
I can't. It's hard. It'd be hard for me to root against him, except if he's there. Then it would be like, are we even buddies anymore? You know how I feel about your team. So, yeah. But no, look, the playoff format thing is a big one. Like, enough. Who doesn't want to buy? Every team raises their hand. All right, guys,
I've said this for a couple of years. Even when it didn't play out,
right?
You always want to have the bye.
Correct.
In the first round.
Bro, if you're the commissioner, you walk into every team's captain and go, all right, I'm giving out buys. Who wants one? Every single arm goes whoosh, straight up. We'll take one. We need it. We got a guy with a groin. We got a guy with a knee. We got a guy with an ankle. Yes, we want to buy.
Even in the years when the 3 of the 4 wild card teams advanced, 5 of them didn't.
Correct.
This year, 7 of them didn't.
Correct.
There's a really good chance, more than 50% every single year, that if you're a wild card team or the 3rd division champion, you're going home after 3 games or less, either 2 or 3 games. There is a 50% or above chance that you are going home. You never want to be in that situation.
Never.
The Padres are in a tough spot because that division title has been closed to them for many years because of the Dodgers. This was the best chance that they had. That's why, that Seth Lugo move is one that hurts me, because I think it might have put him over the hump. And maybe you still would have played the Dodgers, but you might not have. You might have played someone else entirely in that division series. It just changes the entire seeding of everything, in the postseason. And the best chance to win a World Series title will always be by winning your own division, getting one of those top 2 seeds in the playoffs. Always.
No question. I mean, it's just if you were handing them out like on Halloween, every kid raises his hand, for that opportunity. So it certainly stings, man. It certainly does. It's the what if is going to drive you insane. It's hard to turn the page. I get it. I'm still not quite there. I'm like Paulie said earlier off the air. He's been walking around for 2 days just going 24 innings. I've been doing the same thing. I'll just randomly find myself screaming the F word at home and going 24 innings.
Like yesterday, we were just driving back from Palm Springs. It was quiet in the car, and I just go, 2 hits.
2 hits. 2 hits in the last game.
It had been almost 48 hours.
2 hits. I know.
2
it's
hits.
The same thing, man.
2 hits.
2 hits. 2 GD hits. That's all we got. It's stacked. Back to back.
Who is now they still don't name division series MVPs, right? They don't start until the championship series.
Right.
For if you had to name one from each team, though, I mean, I'm going
Teoscar.
probably Yu Darvish for the Padres.
Oh yeah.
Teoscar had obviously the grand slam and the home run. It's hard. A collective bullpen MVP for the Dodgers would be a a pretty good way to go, I would think. But singling anybody out is hard to do when you're only pitching 2.5 innings in a series. So Teoscar's probably their choice.
Tanner Scott was so elite. I'm going to miss him terribly next year. I loved him in the playoffs. He was everything that you could have asked for, and then some. The way he handled Shohei, the way he handled everybody, he was outstanding. I will miss him terribly. Expect him in Dodger blue. They got money to burn. And
not that they need him, but they don't want to see him facing Ohtani anymore. So,
like if the Giants are smart, they'll go after Tanner Scott. I mean, because again, he's proven. Oh, that's my guy. I can get him out, no problem, every time.
And when you say you're going to miss him, do you just assume the Padres wouldn't pay to keep him around,
Correct.
whether it was in a closer or an 8th inning role? As long as he gets paid, I don't think he cares about his save numbers at the end of the season.
But he's going to make
that bullpen was so effective all season long. Don't you want to keep that bolstered bullpen as much as you can?
But he's going to make Robert. We're already paying Robert Suarez a good chunk of change to be our closer for the next few years.
I think you've also got internal options that you really like. Even guys we didn't see at the end of the year, but Jacob, Reynolds, Cosgrove still coming back, hopefully healthy.
Yeah,
you've got Adam and you've got Hoeing both coming back next year. Morihone could be bullpen, could be starting rotation. You've got a lot of high leverage arms that if you're gonna devote money in free agency in the offseason, and I think you do, you need starting pitching to replace Joe. You might need more offense, to replace Hassan Kim or someone who else that leaves before you're spending a ton of money on a luxury relief pitcher left-hander. Not that I don't love Tanner Scott as well. Would love to have him back, but to me, that's just not where you're going to devote. We'll talk about this all coming up, but it's not where you're going to devote the most of your money in the offseason.
Yeah, he's going to make a ton. He's going to make a ton of cash. And by the way, well-deserved. Oh, yeah. I mean, as well-deserved, it's just great. What he did, I really loved him. He was fantastic. But, yeah, they got some tough decisions to make, as all teams do right now. And, the hope is that A.J. Preller stays as creative as he was this year. And you hope that those moves pan out. The Donovan Solano moves, the Peralta moves. And I don't look at this team as it stands today and go, you just bring everybody back and just run it back again. No, I think there's some moves that you can make. We'll talk about it. We have nothing but time to talk about it. But I know it hurts.
The toughest part of being the GM is that you're trying to pay guys on projecting what they're going to be doing in the future, not what they've already done. So, and that can be the hardest part of the job because you'd love to reward someone like Jurickson Profar for what he just did for you, but can you project anything similar to that in the future for Jurickson Profar?
Yeah.
That's going to be the big question in the offseason.
Yeah, and what's it going to cost you? Because it's going to be more than $1 million that you got him for this year. He's not signing for $1 million, nor should he. So, yeah, it's tough.
Very tough.
Very tough.
24 straight scoreless.
24. 2 hits.
2 hits.
I mean, they had. I went back through the StatCast of Game 5.
Yeah.
Padres had what would be considered 8 hard hit balls, more than they actually had more hard hit balls than strikeouts in that game. Of course, most of them were right at people.
Yeah.
They had Manny's 2 drives to the warning track. You had Tatis's double play grounder. He went even harder. I think the last out of the game was one of the hardest hit balls. Tatis was really, really good all postseason. You cannot change. You cannot flip the narrative and say he didn't come through in the last couple of games and go, Tatis wasn't that great. He was phenomenal in the postseason.
He was.
I mean, next level, phenomenally good.
Yeah, he was. Again, though, you look at it as the last game, the opportunity to do something, and, the Stars did not get it done. They did not. The Stars were not Stars at all in the last game, and that's a tough pill to swallow, man.
Nobody was anything.
Outside
of Darvish.
Yeah, Darvish was fantastic. He was fantastic.
Even the Dodgers really went out of their way to tip their caps to Yu Darvish after the game. They really, brilliant. I mean, he didn't strike out a ton. How many strikeouts did Darvish have? Just 4. But man, the soft contact he was getting, he flummoxed so many guys over and over and over again in that game. But, you take enough swings, some guys are going to connect. And in this case, it was the two Hernandezes who connected, pulled it. There were no doubters, no doubt about it, that those were going to be home runs. You just don't think that two solo home runs are going to beat you in a playoff game or any other game. Most of the year, that's probably a win for Yu Darvish.
Yeah, Yu was
consistently.
So good.
That's what you're looking for from Yu.
And his final tweet of the season was just heartbreaking.
You have that? Can you call that up?
I can call it up.
Translated, but he sent that one out in English actually.
No, he sent it out in
it was just translated.
Japanese, and he translated it to. Just broke my heart, man. Absolutely broke my heart. Let's see. Thank you for supporting us. All of us throughout the year, whether it was through TV, radio, or at the ballpark, I feel truly grateful for your support. I will find points for improvement and continue to work hard to become a better player. Oh, you didn't do anything, bud. You didn't do anything wrong. You had a couple hanging sliders. They got you. Your offense didn't get you. Didn't have your back. Picked up your brother all season long, man. All season long, you picked each other up until the very last game.
Yeah, a lot of people, even us, question the extension for Yu Darvish. He's 30. He'll be 39 next year. But
that was fantastic.
Looks like he, with that repertoire, can still be effective going forward for another at least couple of years.
Yu Darvish.
It's not your fault.
No, it's not your fault.
Not your fault, Yu. We'll come back. Paulie's got a Ryle report. We'll get into a little bit of college football and NFL from over the weekend as well. And then I think we are going to open some phones all ahead here with Ben and Woods at 97.3 The Fan. want to do something that changes the mood a little bit somehow. I mean, maybe it's
Take
too
your
early.
clothes off.
I'll take.
Get nude.
There we go. There's one layer. It is getting a little warm in here, actually.
I just got chilly. All the blood has left my body from this stupid season. It's just absurd.
Wasn't a stupid season.
I
It was
know.
a stupid end to
Stupid
the
end.
season. It was a great season.
Nothing ever ends well because it ends. It's over.
I mean, think how sad we would be after they won the World Series, and then it would be over still.
I would
no
not
matter
be
what
sad.
we do.
I would be S-faced still for like a week. At me screaming at him. No, I'm not doing an extra show. You don't want me on the mic. No, I would not be sad. Are you kidding me?
I know, I'm
Would
kidding.
not be sad.
I am kidding you. I am kidding you.
And
But
people were asking me yesterday, "You going to watch the games?" I go, "Yeah, I'm going to watch the games." I'm not. I live it and breathe it. I need baseball. I don't care who's playing. I have to have.
I mean, the alternative last night was Bengals Giants, and that was not entertaining football. So.
I tried to force myself yesterday to sit down and watch some NFL football, and I could not have given a rat's ass about what I was watching. I'm sitting there watching Red Zone going, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. And I need to switch my mindset here because, football's heating up. College football was on Saturday. My beloved Notre Dame was playing. They were rolling against Stanford. And I'm like this. I don't care. I just don't care. I couldn't get over it. It was very, very, very sad. A very sad weekend.
All right. We did watch a little bit of football. I watched some college football on Saturday. And then some NFL yesterday. Had some Red Zone on. And Paulie's got a few updates for us here today on the Ryle Report.
And get things started here with our today's edition of the Ryle Report.
Now tuned into the greatest.
Welcome to the Ryle Report with Paul Ryle.
Hi, Paul.
All right.
2 stories from the world of sports that we haven't gotten to yet.
We'll start off in Major League Baseball.
And 1 story that you didn't know you needed.
Are you laughing, biatch?
It's the Ryle Report
Hey, Paul, how you doing?
Okay, how are you?
on 97.3 The Fan.
Are you ready to bless the mood? I need some help, please.
That was good.
Can I get a oh yeah? Oh yeah.
All right. Good morning, gentlemen. We will start off in the NFL, and there were a lot of different directions we could have gone, whether it was Jerry Jones and the Cowboys.
Oh, my.
Getting bodied on his
Goodness
birthday,
gracious.
or the
That was humiliating.
awful injury to who was
Aiden Hutchinson.
Aiden Hutchinson, season-ending.
He had surgery this morning on a broken fibula and tibia. That's taken out all of the bones in your lower leg at once. That was horrific.
Maybe even career-ending. I mean, good God. But I was going to focus actually on the Colts and the Titans.
The only person to focus on the Colts and Titans today.
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
And it's not just because Calvin Ridley scored me 0.9 points on fantasy football this week, but he went on a expletive-laden rant to the media after the game. Calvin Ridley, big-name wide receiver for the Titans. They lost, and he was not very happy after the game, and the video was going around. He was not holding anything back with his thoughts on why they lost 20-17 to the Colts. But I thought it'd be more fun, instead of me beeping everything out, if we just had Ben read it.
Read it.
I have transcribed Calvin Ridley's
Always better.
exchange in the locker room. Ben Higgins, if you mind.
If you mind.
If you don't mind. I was going to say if you will.
Let's see. I had targets? In what part of the game did I have targets? They then told him, well, you had a lot of them in the fourth quarter. All right, then. So, yes, I need some in the beginning of the F in game 2. Then, S is getting effing crazy for me, says Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, when you look at the box score, 0 receptions for 0 yards, but he did have 8 targets. And he was very mad that I guess they weren't evenly distributed throughout the game.
All targets are not created equal.
Correct.
Though.
Yeah, that's true.
When you're wide open and your quarterback doesn't see you and should be throwing it to you, you're like, I want that target. When he can't find anyone and he just chucks it toward you, like at the end of the game desperately,
that's a target.
That doesn't feel so much like a target for a wide receiver, is more of a, hanging me out to dry moment.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, big name receiver wants more balls thrown his way. News at 11. This is what it is all about.
I'll give him a little bit of credit. It was like a 2-minute rant that he went on, and towards the end he said, it is what it is. I sucked today. I got to be better, but I got to get the ball a little earlier in the game so I can be in the game and here with the team so that I can play well also.
Seems like something for like closed door meeting with the offensive coordinator and the quarterback, not necessarily for post game frustration in the locker room.
Receiver 101, man.
There wasn't a ton of great games yesterday. I thought Ravens Commanders might have been the best one, which is saying a lot. Derrick Henry has been really good. After he got freed from that Tennessee Titans offense, he's been really good for the Ravens. 132 yards, 2 more touchdowns for Derrick Henry in their win. Both teams now 4-2 in that game.
College football, did not get to watch much of it at all this weekend. I know Woodsy said, what'd you say in the last segment? Notre Dame was on. I couldn't have cared less.
I was just watching, eyes glazed over, thinking 24 straight innings.
I was looking at some of the box scores, though. It was an exciting day for some of the top 25 games. I saw San Diego State held on to beat Wyoming.
Yep. First road win in an entire year for the Aztecs.
Good God. But it was the top 5 that had the biggest shakeups. Oregon and Ohio State had to be the number 1 game.
Yep. Watch that game. That was a really good game. I was working Saturday night, so I had it on. And
Oregon at home, College game day, they won by 1 point, 32-31, and it came down to a pretty wild ending with Ohio State, their quarterback running the ball and trying to slide, but there was not enough time left, and it didn't stop the clock.
So I tweeted about this as I was watching the game. So Ohio State down 1, time running out, 1 timeout left. So there's 10 seconds, and the clock is stopped. They have the ball at like the 43 or something. So they're still out of field goal range by a ways. Oregon then sends 12 men onto the field. And it looks like, this is confusion. This is a mistake. A lot of people, including myself, thought, this might have actually been brilliant strategy because they ran the play, which was kind of hopeless because they're playing against an extra defensive back.
Right.
Everyone was double covered because he had an extra guy on the field. They knock it down, and it took like 4 seconds. So even though they were penalized 5 yards, it didn't get them into field goal range.
Right.
And it turned out perfectly.
It bled clock.
They didn't have enough time to run that full next play to get into field goal range. They ran it. He slid, but there was no time left on the clock. Man. And that extra 4 seconds they killed with the penalty ended up maybe winning the game for Oregon. It was kind of genius. And I just want to throw out there, as ridiculous as college football, this realignment, and USC and Oregon and Washington and UCLA and the Big Ten and Stanford and Cal and the ACC, as dumb as it is, doesn't it feel like we're getting way more like exciting games? Like Oregon, Ohio State is something we would not have seen until maybe like the Rose Bowl. But now we get it as a league game. Like every week there's a spectacular game. Penn State, USC was a fantastic game.
Because it's working.
USC, Cal, USC, Arizona. I don't know. It wasn't doing much for me. This is actually way more entertaining, I think, for college football fans to see these matchups on a weekly basis.
I'm certainly entertained by USC's season so far. Big time entertained. That's all Big Game Lincoln for you.
They've played the hardest schedule in college football and lost 3 times by 13 points total.
Sucks to suck.
But they're out of it now. I mean, 3 losses. I don't think you can come back and
now you can just
make
ruin
the
my
playoffs,
season at the end of the year, which I'm fully expecting. So come back to this
Alabama
moment.
nearly blew. You see, Alabama nearly lost for a second straight week. They gave up an onside kick to South Carolina, up 2 in the last minute, but then the defense held tight and they held on for a 2-point win.
A little bit of movement in the top 5. The teams all remain the same, though. Texas stays at number 1. Oregon moves up a spot to number 2. Penn State moves up 6-0 to number 3. Ohio State fell to number 4, and then Georgia rounds out the top 5. I also saw that Army and Navy both are ranked this year. Army is 6-0. Navy is 5-0. And typically those games, when the service schools are playing a game, it can be a tough watch. They are both undefeated, and it's the first time they are both in the top 25 since October 3rd, 1960.
Wow. I don't know who they have, I assume it's like league games, like the rest of the way. Wouldn't it be incredible if like they stayed undefeated and the Army-Navy game was like to make the college football playoff at the end of the year.
It's possible.
That would be spectacular drama.
It's the first time both Army and Navy had been undefeated at this point in the season, which is, 7 weeks in, since 1945, just after the end of World War II.
It's funny because in some ways this whole college NIL transfer portal thing, it's hurting so many schools.
Sure.
But I doubt it hurts Army and Navy as much because if you're going to Army and Navy, there's a reason you're going there, and it's not
to play football.
It's not to try to have a good freshman season and then transfer somewhere else and get the best NIL offer. You're still getting the same guys you always were.
Yeah.
So I don't think it really affects them maybe as much as it does some other programs, and they're both having really, really good seasons.
All right, and then finally, a little sportsy, but I've got some unhinged audio here.
Love that.
From the world of the NBA basketball. So Sam Mitchell and Chris Miles, they were on NBA Network, NBA TV, and I think this was before, still preseason, right? In the NBA? Before a preseason game.
Even I know.
And the studio show was going on, and they were talking about, I think they were talking about like coaches getting medals, Olympic medals for their team success, and it turned into a back and forth between Sam Mitchell, former player, former coach, and the co-host Chris Miles, and it even ended with Sam Mitchell doxing Chris Miles and like putting his address out over the air.
This was some of the most awkward studio banter I have ever seen in my life.
I left the part out where he gives his address. I don't want to encourage anybody to do that, but he like pulls it up on Google and he's like, "This is you, right? Blank, blank, blank Avenue." And he's like with the pool in the backyard, and he just put it out there over the over the airwaves. But here's what got it all started between these two on NBA TV.
Coaches don't get medals, I guess. It just tells you what international, how they value coaches. Not at all.
I'm surprised.
How do coaches don't get a gold medal?
I'm surprised coaches get a paycheck for this show. You know, I think like maybe you should do this pro bono, my friend.
You know, last time I looked at my check, it's pretty close. So, hey, I'm taking donations. Why don't you come up off some of that money you got since you're over there bragging about it?
So it starts there. He's talking about, you know, maybe a coach, you made all the big money in the NBA. Maybe you should just be doing this for free. He's like, I almost am. I'm not making a ton to be here.
I'm not bragging about it.
I mean, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you rent your beach house out down in Florida during the hurricane? Or do I need to go on? How about your townhouse over in Buckhead?
Hey, what's going on here, Sam?
You want to call me out? I mean, come on. You screaming broke and hungry. Let's just see it. You know, I know what you have and where you live, young fella, so you need to stop.
I think we have snitches on the show today.
No, we
His
don't have
name
snitches. We
is
have
Sam
truth tellers.
Mitchell.
We have truth tellers, so you're the one who crying poor and destitute up here. When do I need to keep going on further, more and more? Or do you want me to stop right now?
Go to this game between
That's
the Sacramento
what I
Kings
I done
and
told
the
you,
Golden
young fella,
State Warriors.
You're going to stop messing with me on national TV. I done told you about that.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my.
Hey, do I need to give out the address? Because you're not at home right now.
And he did.
He
like
did.
the camera flashed to the Warriors, like pregame huddle on the court, but they're still talking.
The host really wants to
background.
move on at this point, and Sam is not letting it
And
go.
he drops his address on the air.
Oh. Why? How did that get
I
so
don't think
sideways?
They don't quite have the friendly like Ben and Woods, all good fun banter down yet.
How did it get so sideways? What creased that guy so much?
I don't know.
I don't know
mean,
if there was like drama between them. It felt personal though. It absolutely felt personal.
Yikes! I mean, it's authentic.
It's very authentic.
Awkward.
So don't dox people.
Yeah,
very awkward.
Is that it?
That's it.
That's
right.
it for
Thank you,
Paulie
Paulie.
today. All right. If you want to join us, you can. We saved the last couple of segments here for you guys out there. 833-288-0973. I'm sure that some of you have been sitting on some good takes. I'm sure some of you have been sitting on some bad takes all weekend long.
We are now a Dodger fan hub in our YouTube chat. I mean, it is like...
Do we need to cover the Dodgers more? We have so many Dodger fans. They don't have anywhere else to go.
They really don't.
They finally beat Little Brother. This is their World Series.
This is unreal. It truly is a... I mean, it is like 95% Dodger fans in here having their moment right now. Bring it. Bring it. Bring it. You know I would.
Sean Manaea going to shut the Dodgers down today like he's done so many other teams this season and postseason?
We will see.
I guess we'll find out. All right.
Just a few hours away.
Come back after a check of traffic here on 97.3 The Fan.
Hamul Casino. Fun above all else.
So after the game on Friday, I was sitting doing most of my TV work right outside the exits at Dodger Stadium as fans were passing through. And I heard more than one basically acknowledge that they felt like the Padres were the toughest opponent that the Dodgers were going to get.
Sure.
Like that was the team that scared them the most, and now they feel going forward they've got a much better chance than they've had in a long time. And I guess the hard part for Padres fans is that you would have had that same road the Dodgers fans now feel like is advantageous against the Mets, who obviously did not come offensively in their first game in the NLCS last night. And then either the Guardians or the Yankees. I mean, I assume the Yankees would be the tougher out of the two, and I'm sure Major League Baseball would love to see a Yankees-Dodgers or secondarily Yankees-Mets Subway Series for the ratings and the big markets. But the Yankees are a flawed team as well.
Massively, dude. They're, Aaron Judge, their superstar's done nothing. I mean, really, nothing. He's got one hit. Juan Soto is Juan Soto, but why pitch to Soto when Judge is swinging at everything right now? So, going to be interesting to see how they handle the Guardians. And, they're no joke. The Cleveland Guardians are no joke. Just went in and handled business against Tarek Skubal. They got pretty flummoxed by the bullpen days that A.J. Hinch was throwing out at them, and they rose above it, man, and went out and beat an ace and pretty handily. And they got Clase as well, so if they can get a lead, they've had no problem. Votes had no problem going him for 5-6 outs, whatever they need. So you got to get it done.
Yeah, I think their offense disappearing at times is the biggest concern. It did in that Tigers series for a couple of days, but they still managed to find a way to get through. And honestly, if you look back for the Padres series, as much as we will focus on the last two, they could have done the same thing as the Guardians if they had just won the first game.
Yeah.
And we would have never known because they would have swept the series in 3. But that was the one that got away. You had a 3-0 lead. You had a 5-3 lead in game 1. And you were not able to hold on to it. Now, when they came back and won the next 2, you thought, oh, big deal. Bounce back. But it was a big deal. As it turned out, game 1 was a really big deal because any team's offense can disappear for a couple of days. It did for the Guardians. They still won the series because the other 3 games where they had a chance to win, they won. Padres, the other 3 games that they had the chance to win where their offense did show up, they won 2 of the 3.
Yep.
That's the difference between going home and going forward in the postseason. And ultimately, it may be game 1 that you regret more, even though it wasn't the last one, the one that stings the most. That's probably the one where the season got away from you.
Yeah.
In game 1
yeah,
of the
certainly
series.
that 4th inning, man, just spiraled but you had a chance. You needed to beat a starter that you'd had no problem beating. And you didn't. You didn't scratch anything together off of him, and that's a tough one, man. Tough one to swallow.
All right, a lot of people trying to get in. We got some callers on the line, 833-288-0973. Keep trying if you can't get through. Let's go to Steve. Steve, welcome to Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan.
Hey, good morning, guys.
Hey,
hey listen, I just want to start off by saying I've been watching the Padres since Westgate Park days.
Yep.
So I've watched a lot of Padre baseball. In my opinion, this was their best chance ever to get to a World Series. I thought everything was in line for them to make that run. So that being said, I have an opinion, and you just instead of jumping on me too hard, let me give you my opinion.
Shoot it.
I'm looking for next year, and one of the moves I would love to see them make is somehow get rid of Bogart. I don't like the guy. I don't like what he did on the field. The first part of the season, I feel like Schultz's hands are tied because of his contract. The guy's not a good shortstop. Cronenworth's a better second baseman than him. I feel like he had to put him in the lineup because of his contract, and we kept trying to figure out where do you plug this guy in when he shows no energy. He's not a good hitter. He's not really that good of a defenseman. And in my opinion, I'd rather have Wade as a shortstop. I'd rather have somebody with some high energy to do the job. And I think somehow if A.J. Preller next year, when he has to do some trades, somehow he can put him in the trade because this is just my opinion, guys. I think he's a cancer to the team. I just don't think he's done anything to help this team, and your hands are tied because of his contract.
Thanks for the call, man. I was with you for a second until you said you want Tyler Wade as your everyday shortstop, and then that's not. And Tyler Wade does bring an energy to the team, but Bogey is a far superior baseball player than Tyler Wade is. As far as the cancer goes, I can't speak to that. All I know is he's pretty well liked in the organization. He's certainly been accountable when he's been bad. You're right, though, as far as being a big contract that the Padres probably never should have handed out. I think you're right about that. Here's the problem, though. You're not going to find a taker for him. No one is going. There's no way any team goes, well, if they don't want him.
You can give us Salas and Merrill,
right.
Maybe.
Yeah.
And eat $50 million.
If not way more. Yeah. If not way more. So look, you hate to feel that you're pigeonholed, but I do feel like you're with Xander Bogaerts, and the best thing that you can do is literally hope he figures it out. It's not the answer you're looking for. You will find exactly 0 takers for Xander Bogaerts.
Yeah, it's no shock that we all agree, and I'm sure even A.J. Preller and the quiet moments will agree that Xander has not performed up to his contract, not even close, in the first couple of years. I think clearly he was one of the 9 best players who needed to be out there for the San Diego Padres
for sure
in the postseason. It wasn't a mistake to play Xander Bogaerts. You had to play Xander Bogaerts, and I don't think he's a cancer at all. I think Xander is actually quite well respected. I don't think some of his comments necessarily are what you expect as a fan coming from a player, but I think he's very honest and introspective, and I don't have a problem with that. I like Xander's candidness and what he brings, and I think most teams need something like that. But in terms of production, yeah, he doesn't need to hit 35 home runs every year, but there needs to be more extra base power from Xander Bogaerts. I'm okay with him. I think at second base, I think that's the right position for him. I think he's only going to get better if you stick him there, but they may have to put him back at shortstop next year, and that is probably not an ideal situation for the Padres going forward with Xander Bogaerts as your everyday shortstop. It's not the best configuration for the Padres, which is weird, thinking they may need to go out and find a shortstop next year.
Again.
Knowing that they have so many of them. Like every single player on their roster is a shortstop, and yet they may have a bit of a hole at shortstop going into 2025.
Well, I mean, I already saw the report from Kevin Acee that they're considering, and I don't know how real this is, but considering Leo DeVries at shortstop,
and Salas.
Yeah.
Hey, he is no longer a minor. As of last Friday,
18 years old.
He turned 18. So, I mean, it would be ridiculous to promote someone who can't, even legally do anything until. But now he's 18. I'm
Smoke
sure
cigarettes now.
It's good to go. That's the Padres starting shortstop.
I think that was
next
in Acee's article, wasn't it?
I mean, it's definitely been talked about. I don't see any circumstances in which he breaks spring training. I mean, if he has a really good season in the minors again next year, maybe you think about calling him up later in the year.
They're 21?
They are, yeah.
Get out of town,
yeah,
really?
In California, at least.
Oh, wow. Holy cow.
Maybe in like North Carolina they're not, where they grow all the tobacco, but here they're 21.
21?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I'd color me shocked.
Vices?
Yeah.
You need to be a little older for your vices.
Apparently so. 21. Federally.
Not a bad call, Steve, though. I know he was worried that we were going to jump all over
No,
him,
I mean, you can't. Tyler Wade's not an everyday shortstop.
I disagree with that as well.
Yeah, there was
a lot of Wadey love in that locker room at the end, though. Guys came up to him and, appreciated what Wade did.
If you want to criticize Xander Bogaerts and his stats, his play on the field, that is 100% okay and fair.
Yeah.
Throwing the C word out there with baseball players.
It's what happens after
pretty heavy.
It's after a devastating loss.
I don't feel like Xander Bogaerts is the reason we didn't win the NLDS.
Yeah.
And I think the intangibles that he has as a player are second to none. I mean, he is right up there he is a leader with these young players.
For sure.
You want 26 guys with the mentality of a Xander Bogaerts.
Yeah.
But the play on the field is absolutely fair game.
Yeah.
All right, let's take one last time out. We still have more callers on the line. 833-288-0973.
Maybe we skipped the callers.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad call.
That was not a bad call. You'll get
it wasn't bad.
You'll get some fresh
Are they
takes
going to get better is what you have to ask yourself.
That's true. Will it get better?
Annie and Elston coming up at 10 o'clock. Don't go anywhere. More Ben and Woods on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
I think I can speak for a lot of parents out there this week and next week that we are in the chamber here. Do you remember fall break, Benny, for your kids?
Yes.
Yeah, we have this week is conference week, so we have parent-teacher conferences.
Fall break is wild. That's a new concept.
It's wild, and so they get out early all week this week, and then they're just out next week. They're just off.
Is this a symptom? Because you used to be. There wasn't a fall break, but we started later. We started in September.
Yes.
Now you're starting earlier in
that makes
August,
sense.
but they have to, I mean, it's the same number of school days, so they just give you more time off during the year, which is now fall break to go with spring break and winter break as well over the holidays. A lot of breaks.
Yeah, it's very stressful being a first grader, I guess. So he's going to be on break next week.
Good luck to you.
Thank you, man.
On that.
I just the baseball season ends. You're like, whew, all right, time for a reset. Get myself back together. No, sorry.
George in the chat says, my boys had 2 weeks off for
God.
their fall break.
Wow.
Holy cow.
Thoughts and prayers.
Yeah, thanks, man. Going to need it.
It's today a bank holiday as well.
Junior-
Columbus Day / Indigenous Peoples Day.
Junior said they're going on break like the Padres LMAO. They're misspelled. THERE. You're going to want Junior.
Stay hot, Dodgers
Junior. You're going to want to do a THEY''RE.
We should do this segment at some point, just as a public service to everybody.
To Dodger fans mostly.
The three different
theirs. Also, let's go with loser is 1-0. You absolute buffoons. You morons. Loser has 1-0.
2 O's is looser.
Looser.
Padres a bunch of losers.
Looser. Bunch of losers. Junior, go back to school, okay? THEY''RE means they are.
That was like second grade, I think.
Good God. Bo knows this stuff. He's 6, and he's on break.
When it's like a place, I'm going there.
Losers.
There is a big accident on the freeway. That's THERE. When it belongs to someone.
THEIR.
Possessive. Woods and Paul. Oh, that's their Rally Roach. That's THEIR.
Yes.
And when it's a contraction, they are, and you're putting those words together, they are great. They're great. That's when you have the apostrophe, THEY''RE. The 3 different theirs.
It's
Public
staggering.
service announcement from Ben and Woods this morning.
Staggering. Dino says it's hilarious the show refuses to hold actual players accountable but comes down hard on 4-foot, 12-inch Rosenthal. That would be 5 feet. Because, Dino, there's 12 inches in
All
a
right,
foot.
now we go from English class to math class.
Yeah. So, again, Dino, 412 is 5 feet. You absolute loser. Okay? You are a loser. Listen. No, we absolutely are holding them accountable. They were terrible down the stretch. Luis Ariz was terrible.
Not even a
Profar.
stretch. 2 games.
2-game stretch.
2 games.
Ariz, Profar, Manny, Crony, all of them.
And
to a
really
man.
It was just the
They got
offense.
2 hits, man. What are you doing? Like, what are we doing here? 412 is 5 feet, though, at the end of the day.
All right, we'll come back and we'll have some social studies and geography after this.
If I thought they knew that stuff, that would be elite trolling, but they just
don't.
They just don't know.
After this check of traffic.
Yeah. Satan's Blowfish. We will hold the players accountable when you guys start holding LA's public school system accountable. You absolute morons in our chat. Morons. It's staggering. Staggering.
All right, traffic with Kelly on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is brought to you by Soapy Joe's, the official car wash of the San Diego Padres. Wrapping things up on a pretty good note here. Cordell and Cordell traffic cam shows a collision on the East Street off-ramp northbound 5. Soapy Joe's Car Wash is celebrating the postseason, offering championship-style VIP savings. For a limited time, receive a free Magic Joe Car Wash, valued at $25. Just text 94333. The official car wash of the San Diego Padres is Soapy Joe's. Good, clean fun. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben and Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
All right, it seems like things are a little on edge. So when we go out to the calls here,
I'm just having
be careful. We got our friend Eric, a.k.a. Easy.
Easy.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning, boys. How you guys doing?
Fantastic, man.
I just wanted to point out that I wanted to thank Peter Seidler for everything, especially
100%.
giving me my dignity back. here in San Diego, and it wouldn't have been without him, for everything that happened this season. So I just wanted to make sure and highlight that Peter Seidler was the reason why everything happened this year. And I'm very thankful, honestly, as a San Diegan, because I got my pride back. And I don't care what these Dodger fans think or say. They still don't got a championship.
I like it, man.
I saw it suggested, and I agree with the suggestion from this weekend, that the Padres should keep the PS heart patch. I know normally those special patches are a 1-year only deal, but to me it feels like Peter's legacy is a little more important than a 1-year patch.
Sure, I agree.
And I would think the players would also agree. The only people that I would think that might stand in the way, Major League Baseball may have some weird rules. No, you can only do a special patch for 1 season, and they may make them take it off.
Sorry, we actually sold that real estate on MLB jerseys to Strauss.
It's going to It's going to Home Depot.
When did that happen? The helmets, the Strauss and the helmets.
It was right for the playoffs.
Playoffs only.
What is Strauss?
We did this whole bit on the air. We did it in the Rhino Report. Yeah.
Okay.
It's going to be like the PS patch sponsored by Home Depot.
He might not have been here actually when we did the Strauss. I think he was though.
I don't remember at all.
Yeah.
Any talk of Strauss other than seeing it on the helmets. I thought maybe they made the helmets.
No, it looks terrible. No, they're not a helmet.
They don't make the
company.
helmets.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, it's
not
just
Riddell makes helmets.
No, or there's a bunch of different brands that make them, but it is just Strauss is it's European Carhartt. Okay, they're like
clothing.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't remember
outdoors wear.
Yeah, it's weird that Carhartt would make more sense, wouldn't it, than Strauss? But listen, they got to make money too. Johnny says Ben checks out for the Rindle Report. So yeah, that's true. That's true.
I mean, usually you say that and I go, "Oh, you're right." I do remember.
You
literally
don't
have
remember.
Zero recollection of that.
That's been a long year, bud.
None at all. Any discussion of Strauss? I never knew what it was. I just saw it on helmets and go, "That's new,
that's
isn't
a
it?"
new, yeah, that's new.
Why does it all say Strauss on the helmets?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that at all to keep the PS heart. We have a Tier 1 baseball team. We'll keep it on ours for sure. Not going anywhere.
I don't think the Peter Seidler legacy fund and the good works that it's doing are going away either.
Yeah,
so you want to keep that feeling and keep that memory alive as long as you possibly can, of course.
No doubt.
I wanted to give a shout out as well to Shiel Seidler, tweeting after the end of the season, "Hey, thanking everybody, touch some grass, get out, put your phones down for a minute.
It was hard.
Come back and, we'll be back and do this again." But obviously she knows, just like the rest of us, everybody hurting a little bit about how this season ended.
It was hard to touch grass on Saturday and Sunday, and it's going to be hard to touch grass today. But with each day, you get closer to the next season, and my optimism hasn't waned. For this team, they're still going to be a tremendous part of our lives and family, and I just look to my 6-year-old for a lot of wisdom all the time, and if his faith is unwavering, then mine will be as well.
All right, let's sneak another one or two in here. We got John on the line. John, good morning. Welcome to Ben & Woods.
Hey, guys. First and foremost, I got to say, what a heck of a year. I'm not necessarily a Padre fan, but got a lot of family and got a lot of friends that are Padre fans. And, you gotta give it to Peter for and I don't mean to say this way, but Peter really gave his heart. I mean, he died trying to bring a championship to San Diego, and I really respect that. And you know what? I could easily get on here and bust, but I'm not going to do it. But all I got to say is this: I got nothing against the Padres. I'm from Pittsburgh. I'm everything Pittsburgh, and I really felt for Darvish giving up 2 runs because you know what? Paul Skeens did it all year. Gave up 2 runs and never had the support.
Yeah,
so
I love Paul Skeens.
In this game against the Dodgers, I was right there with you guys.
I love Paul Skeens. I love Paul Skeens. I love
Hang
Paul
in
Skeens.
there, guys.
Thanks, brother.
John.
Appreciate it, man.
Hang in there.
You guys too. In Pittsburgh. You talk about 2 different organizations. Certainly, you have a lot to be happy about with the 2 top guys in their rotation. But you look at their owner, and their owner is not committed to winning like ours is here. You don't always win, even when you commit to winning. it's hard for me to come in here and be like, God, what a great season. I'm so proud of these guys just because of the sour taste. And I get it, but it was a fun season.
It was the most fun season we've had in 6 years covering them.
The worst ending of all time. It's just terrible.
Analysts all across the sport saying this is the best Padres team ever assembled.
Yeah.
And that includes 2 teams that did win the pennant. Kind of helps twist the knife a little bit more.
Of course.
Like it makes it hurt. But, man, there were so many fun moments this year. I had, it sucks.
Sucks, man.
It was not a fun way to end the season, but that does not erase all of the fun moments.
No, it doesn't. But it also doesn't make me want to, sit in here and croon over how great it was. It tastes like I chewed up a Bayer aspirin. That's what it tastes. My mouth tastes like you gave me a Bayer, and I put it in my mouth and just chewed it up. It's just bitter. And I hate that feeling.
You see some people in the chat, you had the caller, like, why don't you hold the players accountable? Manny Machado not coming through. I mean, they didn't come through. We've talked about that.
They did not show
up.
up.
Listen to the first 2.5 hours of the show.
I know.
Shouldn't you also hold accountable? I mean, just because you win or lost, guys don't come through. Shohei Ohtani had a terrible series. Hit 200.
Yeah.
I mean, he absolutely choked for the Dodgers when they needed him the most. And he choked. Mookie Betts hit 222 in the series. Giant choker. Max Muncy did nothing. Choker. Will Smith hit 125. They all choked, but they get a free pass because their bullpen was really, really good.
Yep.
So what are we supposed to do about that? And they don't have no consequences whatsoever because the other guys picked them up. Yeah, Manny didn't have a great series, but he didn't have other teammates who picked him up the way Teoscar Hernandez and Kike Hernandez picked up the Dodgers. I mean, the only difference in that series was 2 swings by those 2 guys that picked up the rest of the guys on the Dodgers who did not come through for them in that last game.
Yeah, I mean,
Padres didn't have anyone that picked them up.
Dylan Cease did not pick this team up. Luis Ariz did not pick this team up. It didn't happen. Michael King giving up that grand slam was just brutal. It was brutal. It gave them life. You had them 6-1, and it was over.
In baseball,
and you stopped adding on. It's just tough.
I'm always going to lean toward, hey, praise the guys who do come through because it's so hard. But in baseball, you're expected to go 1 for 4 most games.
Yeah.
And there's a very small difference between 0 for 4 and 1 for 4. It's one at bat that doesn't go your way. Could be a deep fly, could be a line out that didn't fall in. 3 for 4 might just be a couple of bloops. It give credit to the guys who came through. Teoscar, Kike, they came through with the big swings. No one else came through for the Dodgers other than their pitchers in that game.
Yeah.
That's the difference in the series right there. I don't think it was that, Manny had a particularly bad series. He
wasn't a good one.
No,
wasn't a good one.
He also hit some balls hard, didn't have a ton of luck in that series as well. That's going to happen over 5 games. Tatis had an unbelievable postseason with 423, but ultimately he didn't come through in the last 2 games either. Do you say that he didn't or did come through for the Padres? Which one is it?
Right.
He did or he didn't.
It's not that cut and dry, I don't think. But yeah, man, it's you're just coping with the inability to score any runs whatsoever, and that's what it is. They stopped scoring runs. They've been a prolific offense, and
it'd almost be easier if they had been an inconsistent offense over the course of the season. And then you go into the offseason going, okay, we know what we need to fix.
We need more consistency.
We need more consistency from the offense. We need another piece or 2.
Yeah.
But we'd be silly to sit here and go, Padres need to now spend their offseason fixing an offense that was pretty much
won 93 games.
As good as any in baseball all season long.
It's so wild, too, because now you get that. Remember after the last season ended, and you're like, well, how the hell did we get here? How did we get here? How did we get to this point? We had all these stars and this, that, projected to win 100 games, whatever. Didn't really get close. Didn't really sniff the playoffs. And then you're left with the same sinking feeling of what the hell happened. And I know it was only 2.5 games, but there's still that same sinking feeling of why not us? What the hell happened to you guys? With 2 games remaining, you had a 2-1 lead, and you let it slip through your fingers. It's basically. You took the entire 2023 season and you piled it into 2 friggin' games is when you decided to start playing like that team
Not
again.
hitting with runners in scoring position,
not
hitting
9.
late.
Yeah, just unbelievable.
And then just a game where they looked like they just didn't know what they were doing at the plate.
And now you sit here with the same exact feeling as you had last year. The same exact feeling.
Just 2 weeks later.
2 weeks later. Yeah, brutal. Absolutely brutal.
But the disappointment is no less. In fact, may even be
maybe
a little bit more.
Even a little more.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. I was like, people were like ready to give up on baseball last year after that debacle. This one, I think, it's going to be interesting to see what ownership does. The ball is in their court. You have a unbridled passion for baseball in this city. I think we've seen that. I think the fans have proven that this year. How does ownership respond in 2025 to let the fans know, thank you, we appreciate it. Let's keep trying to get a ring.
Well, we will talk about what we think the Padres may and may not do this offseason as we move forward. Certainly will be a topic of discussion starting on tomorrow's program. Little sports on the schedule today. Of course, Game 2 of the NLCS starts at 1:08 on Fox FS1. Sean Manaea of the Mets against bullpen day for the Dodgers. Game 1 of the ALCS, 4:38 tonight. TBS, the Cleveland Guardians, and Alex Cobb against the New York Yankees and Carlos Rodon. And Monday Night Football here on 97.3 and on ABC 10. Both of my stations have Monday Night Football. The Bills and the Jets.
Yippee.
For you tonight. Annie and Elston are coming up next. For Paul Reindl and Stephen Woods, I'm Ben Higgins. Have a great rest of your Monday. From all of us here at 97.3 The Fan. So long.